afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Arsenal Fan Circle, the Sunday Show, Season 5, Episode 32. And as I was saying to Gary before here, and Stan, our last show was back to basics. Arsenal 3, Southampton 3. I would not say that Arsenal got back to basics. Doing the simple things correctly. That's my interpretation of being back to basics. Gary, how about you?
Yes. Yes. It started with pretty much the first touch from the goalkeeper, basically. Make the easy pass. They'll take chances back there, right? So yeah, no. Basics would be nice I think if we had been back to we've had three tries of this and we haven't done the basic things right in any of those games where you could say, you know what, we just got beat or they were just that good. Um, and I understand that teams score because of mistakes all the time, but I think either we score more than them, even though we make mistakes, or we defend better. One of the two, because
Mm-hmm.
we can do both, right? We can do either one. So, yeah, yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
Hey, Stan, how are you?
I'm very well. Good morning.
Good morning. Listen, Arsenal, we're supposed to get back to basics. It was supposed to be 3 points on Friday evening, but notwithstanding the Premier League being difficult to pick up wins at, those are 3 points we really should have had, and we could have lost it again. We could have won the game again, but we end up drawing, just like the last 3 games.
Well, I feel a little bit differently to that. I actually feel that was a point gained, just because of the way that the manner of the game goes, and the strength of the opposition notwithstanding, I still find that was a point earned as a point as opposed to 2 points lost, which it was at West Ham. I think we were kind of lucky to manage to claw our way back into that game to get anything out of it. But yes, it's disappointing that we couldn't get all 3 points and help, the buffer between us and Man City to be a little bit more bigger. But hey, as far as I look at it, the glass is half full. We're still 5 points clear. We still have our own destiny in our hands a little bit, and if Manchester City can trip up as well, that will help us even more.
Yeah. And all of these three draws now, Gary,
Yep.
leaves us with pretty much no margin for error now, and the mindset has to be go to Manchester City and put in a performance that could allow you to win that game up there.
Yeah, I guess it's time for me for me and Stan to fight because I think
I might join in too.
because
Why not?
I think it's 2 points dropped. I think
Respectfully.
as you stated, we still have opportunities, but I think we've cut those chances, those opportunities that we have to win the league pretty much in half, and we've given ourselves the riskier options now in the sense that we had 3 games to get some points that would give us some buffer. Those are gone. We had 3 tries of that. Those are 3 tries gone. Now we only have really 2 chances left. Really, we need to win out, and we definitely need to win one at City, which is going to be a tall tale. So for me, we've cut our options. I always like to say, give us a chances to win, and in this case, give us a chance to win the league by taking advantage of those opportunities that we have in front of us. And we've kind of failed 3 times now. We got 2 more to go. One is we got to win at City, and the next is to win out. We do that, the league is ours, but those are some big challenges for us. If we are expecting City to drop points, the same could be said for us as well. The way we've been playing, because our form has been off for the last 3 games, so it's a tall task for us to get through it. It can be done. We've just come off of what, a seven game winning streak. We have to start
Mhm.
another one to give us 100% chance. No doubts about it. We win the next 7, we're in. We get the trophy. So, but yeah, that's what we put. That's what we've that's how we set ourselves up for the rest of the season. If we want to achieve a goal that we didn't have at the beginning of the season, but we're here now. Might as well take advantage of it and try to win it. Why not? Right? Don't waste a trip.
Yeah. Before I go to Stan, the measure of our development and the way we've improved from this season to last is last season we were fighting that team for a top 4 spot. And now we are so beyond that team that we're fighting against the best teams in the league. If in fact we are maybe not even the best ourselves. So that's how we can measure ourselves. We are not fighting for a top 4 only. We're fighting for a title here. And that's the success and the progress that we have made this season. Stan?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at a couple of comments in the box. Canterbury Gooners is asking, do I think anyone should be held accountable if we don't win the league? If the league finished today and we finished in second place, no, because sometimes somebody has to finish second. Somebody has to finish third, fourth, fifth, and all the way down to the table. Not everyone can win the league. Only one team can. And for me, it's the manner in how we've been playing. And so far this season, I'm very happy with this team. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen in the remaining 6 games, but if we were to finish the league right now, I would be disappointed if we didn't finish in first place, but I wouldn't look at it as a failure. I would be able to take the positives out of it and see how much we have improved since our last couple of journeys out in the league. And I'd be optimistic of what we'd be able to do the following season. I don't need it all today. I'm one of these. I don't need it all today. I'm quite happy to take improvement and take the improvement incrementally if I can see that happening. Obviously, if we finished in second place and then the following season we finished in 7th, then you'd have to ask some serious questions. But I'm expecting us to continuously build, and we can't do it in the way at Man City have done it. Otherwise, we'd also be under investigation.
Mm-hmm.
We're trying to do it properly.
This is where I'm going to get bantered a little bit because I'm going to bring Liverpool into this, right? I feel like we have assumed. Here we go. Just go with me on this, everybody. Gary and Stan included.
Well, you know what, Stan?
Go with me.
You want to go? I'll go from the ref. We'll do it with Velopta Raptor style. We'll get him from both sides, and he won't see it coming.
I feel like I've logged into Liverpool fan circle by mistake.
All right, let me.
We know that's what he wanted to call it. We know that.
we are the rivals to Manchester City. We are the rivals to this Goliath this season. Now, go back to the 2017-2018 season, all the way back in the missing times. Man City were Centurions, and Liverpool were on 75 points. They finished on 75 points that season. It was good enough for 4th place. City beat Liverpool 5-0 with Sadio Mane getting sent off. That reminds me of Granit Xhaka getting sent off last season or 2 seasons ago against City. Then Liverpool did beat them 4-3 in a brilliant game in January. I liken that to the game on New Year's Day when we should have beaten Manchester City. But anyway, that's that season apart. Centurions, Liverpool 75 points. Liverpool then go next season. They go again next season, and they're beaten by 1 point. 98 points for City and 97 points for Liverpool. That could be this season for us. I don't want it to be, but that could be. What happened the following season? Liverpool retooled and went again, and they won the league the following season. So history can tell us something. If we build properly, if we bring in the right pieces, Liverpool went and got Alisson and Van Dijk. We have a Saliba, who unfortunately is injured now, and maybe a Zinchenko, a Jesus, or Trossard. We've added some pieces this season, and I want to win this league. I want to make it competitive, and I feel like we're going to talk about going to the Etihad a little bit later. And I feel like we can go there, put a performance in, and we could actually surprise some people. And I know those Manchester City players fear this team, this Arsenal team. So I don't really subscribe to next season we could fall away. We don't want that. We want to add a few big pieces next season because of Champions League. But Gary, feel free to pull apart my theory, my history lesson, and Stan also. and take it away.
As soon as you said Liverpool, I pretty much,
You
I
shut
pretty
down.
much, I just blanked everything you were about to say after that. But before I go, I want to say hello to everybody in the chat. I see
Yes.
Steven, Russ, the assembled, Riddy in the house. Welcome, BX Gunner is there. Thank you for joining us. But in that, like you talked about Liverpool, and I can't look to the next season. We've got games to win right now, so I don't really.
Yeah.
I can't really think about, well, how will we do next season? Because let's evaluate that. Sometimes you always say, let's see how the season ends and then we'll talk about it. This is one of those where let's see how we end this thing. Let's try to win this thing today while we have it in our hands, right? We have it in our grasp. We do have a 4-point lead, and until City plays 5 points, 5 points, and until City wins those 2 games in hand or drops 2 games, we stand pat kind of where we are. So I kind of feel like I can't think in the future yet. And you taught like I said, you taught Liverpool, and I was like, we're doing it. I guess we're kind of doing this similar to them, but
I think we've assumed their mantle in terms of being the main rivals of City this season.
So yeah, yes, and I guess yes and no a little bit, because think about it. If we were, at the
There's
beginning
no
of
one
the
else
season,
rivaling them right now.
but at the beginning of the season, if we said how this thing might play out, right? Best case scenario for us, third, I think, was at least for me, was third.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I would have been fine with third. Right. No problem. Based on, I'm always looking at progression. So we're trying to get better each season. Right. We asked our young players, you guys have done, I think at one point we were looking for them. Can they get double digits in goal contributions? They did that last season. Now we're like, can they get 20 goal contributions? They're getting, some of them have done that already. Right. So similarly to that, I'm expecting the same from the team. Are we gonna go from, just struggling to get into Champions League to winning it in one season? You can, like we can this freak season, right? But in general, if you want to build something that's sustainable, it's going to take a bit of time, right? Same way that when we saw Liverpool, they got into the Champions League final and they lost. Right? They built on that and came back and won it the next season. The next season after that, they won the league. None of those things happen all at the same time. I think, some fans expect us to be able to do all of that once. Liverpool showed that you can maintain some excellence for a while, right? If you keep things going. And they did that for about 4 or 5 years. They were winning trophies. They were competing for the big trophies at that time. So we are ahead of schedule, but I don't want to waste it. I don't want to waste this opportunity. So let's take it. I don't know if I answered your question because like I said, I kind of blanked out when you said Liverpool, and
that's why I said stay with me, Gary.
I tried, but the Liverpool thing kind of like it just like it did the whatever you call it, Control C, and everything just went, and I just missed it.
Okay, the thing is, Chelsea tried to stay with City and Liverpool for many years. They were solidly third and fourth. They never punched above Liverpool or City. And here we are. We're ahead of City for most of the season. And yes, we don't want it to slip at this point in time. It's not over. I think a lot of fans right now feel like the league's over. They have 2 games in hand. They're looking at Man City and thinking they're indestructible. They're going to win every game this season. Yeah. And if they do that, what can we do with 14 if they win 14 in a row? That's very hard to deal with. If they win the remaining,
looks like United's going to win it.
Yeah, I did want people to update me on that as well.
Oh, you didn't? Sorry.
No, I did want people.
Oh.
So
Marsh just pushed it over well over the crossbar, and Lindelof hits it. Yep.
It's a goal for them, or
yep.
Is there penalties on the penalties?
Yeah.
Okay. Assemble said, "Afternoon, gents. No matter how badly Arsenal performed, there's always that team, Spurs. I think they lost 7-0 or 7-1.
6-1 today. Yeah.
6-1 today. Yeah. And look,
I think they were 5-0 down after 23 minutes or something.
Yep.
And we can mention St. Tottenham's Day, but it's not.
It doesn't even seem like, for me. It doesn't even seem right because
No.
we didn't like. It's one of those things where we kind of backed into it. You know what I mean? We didn't like. That's not the way you wanted to get in there, right? You wanted to smash some team, and on top of that, yes, and now it's St. Tottenham's Day, right? That's what you
Same.
wanted to be able to say, and
Yeah.
we had this bad taste in our mouth, and in
Yeah.
reality, I believe we're all trying. I think we're all trying to say that's not what this is all about, right? We're all trying to get a trophy here,
Yeah.
trying to win the Premier
We're
League,
above.
not necessarily
We're
trying
yeah.
to like. It's funny to laugh at them, but at the end of the day, we don't really care, right? Because
Exactly.
we're trying to win some things here.
And we're way better than that team. We're better than United right now. Let's get through a few comments and I'll go to you, Stan. Canterbury Gunner really said it's all about Wednesday now. Surely, if we fail to get a result, I don't see any way back. Yeah, it would be very difficult. We have another opportunity, and it's the biggest opportunity we're going to have to grasp with both hands. Stephen said this run of 3 draws full of backline mistakes has shown that we lack depth in the centre back position. We need Rice and 2 good backup centre backs this summer. Yeah, and we are evolving, and that means we have to pad out our squad depth, and we're getting hurt by Tomiyasu and Saliba injuries at the back. Sorry, Stan, we've gained 1 point against Liverpool and lost 4 points, no matter what anyone says. West Ham and Southampton were supposed to beat them. On
Doesn't work.
paper,
It doesn't work out
right?
like that on paper. Doesn't work out like that.
Yeah.
No.
We should have to rely on City. We shouldn't have to rely on City. He's probably saying Russ. We've been top pretty much all season. We have to win our own matches, and that's the thing.
Yep.
We have had to look at our own results. I believe actually, Stan, I'll let you get in now, that we have won so many games that we overlook that we got to actually 23 wins quite quickly. I know you don't like it, Gary, but we allowed ourselves that room to drop some points, and we didn't want to drop the points where we dropped them. But we have a situation where we can go again. Stand first.
Yeah, I mean, I honestly I don't see finishing second as a huge failure. I would see that as an improvement. I mean, I was on a podcast yesterday and they were talking about, if we don't get into first, should heads roll? And I was thinking to myself, well, how many times did we finish second under Arsene Wenger? We didn't get rid of him in a knee-jerk reaction. We allowed him to continue to try and build a team that could compete with Manchester United. There's too many knee-jerk reactions for me. Things take time. There's people out there that have been supporting teams all of their lives and have never even seen their team win a Carabao Cup. Ever. Never seen their team get to Wembley. Never seen their team win an FA Cup. And we've got 14 of them. Yes, it will be a disappointment if we don't win this league, but you've got to take your hat off to the way that this team has played. From day one, coming out of the starting gates, we've been sat at the top. And yes, there's going to be mistakes, and we're going to dig into the game on Friday and some of the mistakes that cost us. I mean, Aaron Ramsdale can't, hold himself in any good graces at the moment because that was the start of it. And it was a terrible mistake. And even though I'm enjoying this ride, and I'm one of those that while everything is good, I like to try and milk it for every second that I can. I'm not one of those that's just I don't store it all up and wait till the end of the season and then let it all out when we win or cry when we lose. I like to enjoy it moment by moment, and try and savor each of the wins that we have and each of the positive moments that we have. That's the way that's the lens that I try to look through this. Otherwise, you're just setting yourself up for disaster. What's the point of watching football if you can't find any fun in it? But we've got a lot to be happy about. I think a lot. We're on an upward trajectory at the moment, and that's not going to stop at the end of this season, whether we win the league or not. It's going to continue because the management, the ownership can see where we're going, and there are still funds available. Mikel Arteta is burning to spend 80, 90 million on one player. You can see it. He's gagging to do it, and the funds are there to support him. So, I just feel very positive about where we are at the moment. And, footballers are human beings. They're going to make mistakes. You never, a footballer could wake up in the morning and have a blazing row with his wife and he carries it into the day with him. Who knows? A sick child. You know, a car that his missus has wrapped around the tree and he has to get repaired. Things happen to people. Sometimes they get distracted. You know, they're only human at the end of the day. So I'm
Mhm.
feeling in a very forgiving mood about this team because overall they've exceeded my expectations for this season.
Yeah, and I
At the
think
beginning of the season, I thought it would be a battle to get into Europe. We wouldn't glide into it; it would be a literal battle. And they've overachieved and they've raised my expectations in a very pleasant way.
it's kind of a double-edged sword, Gary. And I think Stan was talking about maybe one Declan Rice, or maybe even a Caicedo, or maybe both even. But it is a double-edged sword, right? We're looking, as Arsenal fans, we're looking at our own team, and we're making mistakes against Southampton and West Ham. But we're also conscious of what Man City can do and the resources that they have at their disposal.
No, for sure. Um, there's a lot there to go on. Uh,
You got 45 more
yeah,
minutes,
no,
Gary.
no, no, yeah,
Or
no, I know.
30.
I said I'm not here for too long, but yeah, for me, I think, I mean, Stan. It's just one of the things I picked up from what Stan was saying in terms of um, apologizing for the way the season ended and stuff. And like for me, really not. There's not really something to apologize. I think we knew everything that we're seeing now isn't a surprise to us. We just don't like it as a fan base. You know what I mean? Nothing we're seeing right now, you couldn't have said at the beginning of the season that these are potential slip ups for us in terms of, do we have the depth? Do we have the depth? Do we have, will our players improve throughout the year that by the end of the year they'll be ready to compete in some of these games, like a Vieira and a Carrior? No, we've seen that they're not ready to compete yet. They could be in the future, but today not so much. So
Yeah.
I'm always. That's why I look at I try to look at everything so you don't surprise me. But I'm still going to be upset,
Mhm.
but you don't surprise me. So everything we're seeing right now is we said it. We've said it multiple times. We say it when we win. We say it's a young team, and then when we say it when we lose and we say we're a young team, then that's when people pick up on it, right? They pick up on it when we lost and we go same reasons why we look so good the young players don't even realize what they're doing. And then the same thing when we lose, that's when they start thinking a little bit too much and things maybe come out. But I think in general, as a team, we're young, so it plays out that way because we are so young. But I think we're looking for the leadership sometimes, and we're not getting it where we need to from our senior players, and that's been our problem for how long, right? We sat here for at least the last 2 or 3 seasons and said the same thing. Which one of our senior players is going to stand up for us when we need it? Because we were young,
Yeah.
with their play and their form, they've kind of let us down, right? I mean, everybody is on, all over Partey for the way he's playing. The things he's doing now aren't things
Mhm.
we were expecting for him to do. But remember that 24 number you talked about? And he's
Yeah.
past that, right?
Yeah. He's past that.
And his form isn't what we wanted the last couple, like the last 3 games. It hasn't been where we needed it to be for us to control games the way we have in the past. And
Yeah.
that's
We
one of the
want
things that you
to.
need to stand up. Like you're to some degree, you might have wanted Ramsdale to do that, and he showed he's still figuring this thing out as
In
well.
this team, in this Arsenal team, Gary, it's like we're waiting for who's going to make the next mistake.
Mhm.
And Ramsdale made a mistake that we were laughing about with David De Gea and Harry Maguire in their Europa League game that they crashed out of. We didn't think that could happen to Arsenal. And the next day, um, and look, to play out from the back, you have to take risks, but you have to also calculate. And Ramsdale will be the first to hold his hand up and say he made a mistake. Now, making a mistake doesn't help us get 3 points as well. But he didn't need to make that pass to the center of the pitch. He could have played it out to one of the players in the flat on the fullbacks, you know, or
Well,
holding
it's
himself.
interesting you say that because if you look at there's a
There's a
picture
pitcher
that shows Holding basically
pointing
pointing not
where to go.
him, not to him,
Yeah.
not to him, and you know, and And so,
And Zinchenko
he's
was the
not the
one.
reason why he made that pass. Ramsdale has to see the field
Ramsdale
and
has to
decide what
diagnose it.
and make decisions. But he wasn't expecting it to come to him. So obviously, the play was to go through the middle. For what reason? Who knows? Who knows why we have to make that pass through the middle with a player right on his back?
I
Um,
feel, Gary,
yeah.
Ramsdale was the person, the goalkeeper. He was rattled by that. And he was rattled when he actually made a save about 30 minutes in. So I got to ask the question. It's young players again, are they feeling the stress of these last few games and how? Because if you're in the middle of the season, you make a mistake, you drop points, you feel you've got 12, 16 games to recover. Here, we don't have that room anymore. You know what I mean? Do you think that's in the mentality of the young players?
I hope. Well, you would hope not, because
Maybe.
we're trying to do bigger and better things next season. And not only that, you've experienced this, so this isn't a new experience coming towards the end of a season with something on the line.
Mm-hmm.
So to say that uh, they haven't,
Experiencing it with
it's new
Tottenham.
to them. It's not new to them.
Yeah, it's a
You
different
need
experience.
no, but there's a goal at hand, right in front of you. You have the grasp of it. All you have to do is win one of three games, maybe, and it's yours if you
Mm.
continue playing. And you don't do it. And we're back. We did the exact. We're back doing the same thing. Yes, we didn't lose, but we needed wins like
No,
we
but
did today.
there's levels to this. I'm going to
Yeah.
use your own phrase against you now. There are levels to this. Fighting against that team, Tottenham, and the City. There's definite levels there that we have risen to, and now we're fighting City, not Tottenham.
Yeah, but you know what? We as fans, we say that team bottles it, right? That's what we say.
Mm-hmm.
So when we had it in our hand against a team that we expect to fail, we still didn't do it. And now we're playing. Now we're playing up against a team that we expect not to bottle it, and it's the same result. So for me,
Right, but
you had
then
it.
that that
You
that
had
begs
more.
a
The
question.
odds were in your favor the first
Okay,
time, and you didn't fail it.
but that begs a
Now,
question. Did you say? Were you saying Liverpool bottled it the last 4 out of 5 years when they didn't win the league?
well,
You
one year
know.
I got injured.
Mm-hmm. The other
I'm not saying. I never said we bottled. I don't think you've heard me say bottled.
no,
Okay.
no, but people
No,
are
no,
saying
no.
that.
People are saying bottled. I don't. I mean,
I don't really. I'm not using that word myself
if you
either.
look at each
I
game,
think that's clickbait. Bottle is clickbait.
you can look at the games and say we've bottled some of these games,
Mhm.
and in totality, it affected us winning the title, right? But in general, I don't think it's a all. You look at the way the season went and went. Out of these 38 games, we bottled what, three of them. So then, yes, that means you bottled it. I don't think so. I think
Mm.
I think for me, anyways, it needs to be more than three. It needs to be more than 10% of the games that you have you struggle in. Yeah, that's how I'm gonna define the way this season went. I don't think you can do that because we talked about I thought it was a smaller number, but we looked at it for one of the past seasons. City went on a 14 game win streak. 14. That's how they ended the season. 14.
When was that?
That was 2 or 3 seasons ago.
Yeah, yeah. I
So
don't think they've done it recently.
no, but like to say that they can't do it, and they've got a robot in the front. So right, we see how that works,
United
and
are
they
through.
are playing well right now in everything that they're doing. So
And look,
it's
United are through. I'm I'm going to say this, and forgive me. I prefer United to be in the FA Cup final because I want Brighton to be concentrated on Man City when Man City visit
yeah,
the
they're going to be
Emirates.
pissed now, so they're going to want to respond.
They're going to want to respond. Damn United. Ray forgets Liverpool won their season during the pandemic with no fans. Do you think the crowd plays a
We
part in
played
it?
differently without the crowd. So yeah, it is different playing without a
Okay.
crowd. It is. We said it.
But I think Liverpool won by many, many points that season.
Yeah.
99 versus 81. They won it by 18 points against City. Stan, we want to get through the Southampton game pretty quick, and then we'll get on to the City game. So what were your thoughts from the game in the entirety? You know,
Well,
Southampton game.
the beginning of the very beginning of the game, I was shocked because with the Ramsdale mistake, you can look at that and think, oh no, we slipped up there. We need to get back into the game. We have to try and correct this one mistake. So for them to then go and score a second goal from open play, that's when I started to get worried. That's when you start to think to yourself, well, hold on a minute, this is a little bit more than a blip here. We should be scoring a goal now to equalise, not going back behind by a second goal. But as we mentioned on this broadcast on the show before, I said, didn't I, that Southampton are a jack-in-the-box team. We've seen them get spanked by teams that they should beat, and then the following week against a team that you think they've got no chance against, they managed to pull out a miracle from somewhere. So we can't take any of these games lightly.
We knew about Southampton.
Yeah, we knew about Southampton.
This team knew about Southampton. They gave me my worst day as an Arsenal supporter last season. Where on Easter Sunday they beat us 1-0 when we really needed to get back into the race. And those 3 points we could have done with. And again, they've done it again, Tony.
Yeah. Now think about it. That Southampton
Tony
game
was ragging me about that last year.
Yeah, that Southampton game we played earlier this season, along with the Leeds game, I think they were played around the same time. If you needed warning shots that look, you need to, we need to, you need to play a lot better football to see this thing through. So, we got the warnings early, right? And I always expect teams to get better as the season goes along. You as your team included in that. So if you're better than them in game 1, by game 38, you would hope that you're still better than them. All right, that's kind of the way this thing's. I believe it's supposed to work.
Maybe during this season, maybe we've already peaked as a team.
Yeah, that sucks, right? That sucks.
That's the worry, right? And maybe Man City are just beginning to peak. That's the concern.
The aesthetics as well from that night on Friday night, and I took time off to swap work stress for Arsenal stress, and Arsenal gave me stress. I'll still take it over work stress, but the players were flat on their feet, laying on the ground. It didn't look good visually but they've been running around for over 100 minutes with all of the added time in both halves. And the difference is you see a well-oiled machine in Man City who can retool and go again, and they have a lot more control in games. So it feels like we're mirroring our manager a little bit. We're a little bit emotional. We play a little bit hectic football, a really good football at times, but not a sound football, And Jurgen Klopp used to play heavy metal football, So I think we're starting to mirror our manager a little bit in that respect. But we looked tired on Friday night because we're chasing the game,
It does annoy me a little bit when you see, for example, when you see a player try to galvanize the team and he's shouting and he's pulling everyone together and he's giving out the orders and he's telling them what we should be doing. But you're noticing, it's that player that's turning the ball over. Why aren't you shouting at yourself and telling yourself to fix up? It's all well and good. To me, that looked like a bit of a bluff, calling everybody into the middle of the
Zinchenko.
Yeah, because I was looking at him. I mean, it was almost just after that, he was the one giving the ball away. And I was like, you're the one that just called the huddle and told everyone to keep switched on. Or I imagine that's what he's telling everyone. And then immediately afterwards, I'm watching him give the ball away in dangerous places.
Yeah.
That is, I mean, it's not like the Liverpool match doesn't still stick in your mind. And you're like, I just saw you kind of help us. We were supposed to try to close out a game against Liverpool, and you basically set them up, right? So we're missing that one guy that no matter how many mistakes they make, you don't remember that one, because you remember all the good things that they've done. Like that's what you remembered from Zinchenko in that game. Some of it, right? But if he would have went out and that's the problem, because we didn't win. If he would have been part of the reason why we won at the end, then you might bring it up and people say you're salty for it. But then it is a problem that needs to be resolved. But you got the win, so then he overcome, right? You made a mistake. We saw that today in the women's game. Raphael made a terrible pass in front of the goal. Wolfsburg took that, scored, went up, I think 2-0. She then turned around later on in the game headed in their first goal of the game, almost got a second one. They went
Got it back.
2-2 on the road
Mhm.
at Wolfsburg, which is a big deal in the Champions League semifinals, right? Do you remember? You remember the mistake at the beginning, but she finished strong, right? The team came back, held them pretty much scoreless for for the last half of the game,
A little bit
and
like Gabriel
they
Megalite.
get the draw. They're
Yeah.
missing four of their top players doing this, right? So we're right now only missing one of our top players. That's how we're missing one, which shows that our depth is still a question mark, right?
Yeah.
Um,
Especially at the
so
back.
so
Especially at
yeah.
the back there. Russ was saying we lose concentration. Sam agreeing. Concentration is poor at times. That is
If you
a
can't be
older
if
player.
you can't be in full concentration at the beginning of a match, how in the world are you supposed to do it for 90 minutes?
Yeah.
This is like I think I saw a stat. We've given up the goal 3 times, pretty much off the whistle, and I know there's been at least 1 or 2 times where they almost scored. The opponent almost scored.
Yeah.
5 times out of 38. That's a big number. That's a big number to switch off to start a match. I get
Mhm.
after a couple of minutes, but the whistle's blown, and you've already forgotten everything the manager's told you, kind of. You know what I mean? Because that's what it looks like. That's just it.
We're not starting games well like we used to earlier in the season.
Yeah.
Steven
I do
said to
feel
be
though,
honest, yeah, go
I,
ahead.
I do feel it's been looking at this season. It's only been a matter of time before we're going to get found out with the amount of goals that we're letting in. There's only so long that we can keep letting goals in and managing to be able to come back and win the game by an extra goal. That's not sustainable. And
Yep.
I was saying the last time that we were on this broadcast, if you go through all of our back four and including the keeper, and you go through the names, and maybe I call it a back six if you throw in Tierney and Tomiyasu as our main defensive reinforcements, and then include the rest of the gang, we can go through all of those individually, and we all seem to like them. There's no one that we're like, oh, I'm not sure about that one. We all like Saliba. We all like Gabriel Megalegs. We all like the 4 fullbacks that we've got. We seem to like the goalkeeper as well. But why are we letting in so many goals? There's a problem in our defence.
We have
We are
conceded.
leaking goals badly.
Yeah.
But
Listen.
it's been masked over because we've been able to come back from behind so many times and see the game out.
Yeah, listen, we have conceded goals throughout the season, but never like in the last 3 games where we conceded. Hear me out. We've conceded 20% of our total goals in the last 3 games, 7 goals. And yes, we have been conceding goals throughout the season, but not at this rate. 20% of our goals, Gary, in just 3 games.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is the oil was leaking right after the World Cup. So as much as we think we're looking good since the World Cup, we've been leaking. The goals we've been given away has increased significant. 50%, I think, is the number. We've given up 50% more goals
Ooh.
since on average per game since
Yeah,
the World Cup. So
we've
it's and you know what? That's probably expected if you're looking at where we stand team wise, structure, squad, all of that. All right. It's not we can say it's an excuse, whatever you want to say it, but it is the reality of where we stand. We're not sitting here right now going, well, we're out, Saliba's out, so everything's done, because, and that's it. It's just been building, and it shines its light for us right now at the end of the season. We never have enough of what we need to cross the line.
I look, this
Right.
is
It does also show you. It does also show you in reality where we are, that just by having one player absent, it can affect the whole of our performance.
Yeah.
You don't see that happening
It's a
at a Man
domino
City
effect.
or some of the other teams,
Yeah.
That's a worry, because you can't play the same 11 for every minute of the league.
As Sam says here, City rotate through the season to be fit at the end of the season when it counts. And we need to get better quality into our squad and more sustainable quality in terms of players who can be durable for the majority of the season and not on the injured table as much. Back to the same point then, Sam, squad depth. which you simply do not have enough of. Okay, I want to pivot real quickly then, because I'm conscious Gary has maybe 10 or 15 minutes left. I want to start Gary off with what your lineup could be at the Etihad, and I will present mine and give Stan some time to think about his as well, because I didn't give him anyone any heads up what we're talking about here today.
Yeah, no, we'll get into like you just put that comment up. That's from Sam. City has one player with 30 starts. It's the goalkeeper. We have 6. So I know it's not the same but that's where we are right now. A lot of our players start pretty much every game and every Premier League match. We don't rotate them out enough to where they miss games. So that's the big difference there. For us and them, the lineup this Wednesday.
And you can play with your formation.
Yeah,
play with your formation if you want. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was on with Ryan earlier today. We were talking about that, and Arteta has to find a way to get Trossard into the starting lineup. I believe. I understand the whole concept of, well, if we put him on the bench, then we have an answer. But the way that Arteta works, he seems to put so much trust in his starting 11 that he doesn't go to his bench soon enough. So if I'm going to go by the way that he manages the game, Trossard has to get in there and start. I think Xhaka coming off with the sickness, for me.
Can you give me the positions that you want him in as well?
Trossard come in at the 8 for Xhaka for me.
Okay.
Our front 3 stays the same. Back 4 stays this. I mean, back 4 stays the same based on what I've seen. I would love to let Tierney come in, and either one or two things. Tierney come in at that back left, Zinchenko moves up, or Trossard goes in and and we have, if Zinchenko has to play because of the way we want to play, then he stays there. But we need to do one of those two things, I believe. Otherwise, everything stays the same. I've heard Jorginho coming in as an answer, but for me, I think that's how I would go. I think I would like to have Trossard in for Xhaka and then keep it the same way. I don't think he's going to make big changes. That's why.
Okay, so you've got, I'll go from the forward positions back. Saka, Jesus, Martinelli, and then your 8s are Trossard, Ødegaard, Partey to anchor that midfield. Gabriel and Kieran Tierney. You want maybe Zinchenko to be the left back, right?
Yeah.
And White. Now, I've dropped Holding in my lineup. Do you drop Holding?
I would like to do that. I just don't see it. I know. Because if we're gonna drop Holding, then you bring then you have Ben White, Tierney, and Gabriel in the back 3, and then you have Saka playing a right back, all right, in that situation, and then I think you can. Then we go from there. So
I definitely agree with you on Trossard. Trossard has to get back in. He's not played. He's not started in the last 3 games, and we've been winning games with Trossard in the lineup. Stan, do you want me to go next, or do you have a lineup to talk about?
I'm good. I'm pretty quick as well. I'm looking at the same team that we put out against Southampton. The only changes that I would make is to put Xhaka back in for Teabag. Because I think that we really a lot of people have been asking about withdrawing Xhaka and trying other people in that position, but I think that we really learned a lot of why how Xhaka is quite important to this team. There's a galvanizing presence.
Question for you, Stan.
Yeah,
are you saying that because you're comparing Xhaka and Vieira? Is
no,
that what you're doing when you say that?
No, I'm looking at what's got us to where we are so far this season. That's what I'm kind of basing it on. Although, yes, I mean, we've managed to have quite a good look at Teabag now over not just that one game, but some other handfuls and appearances, and it does look like that for where we are in the title tilt. He's not the one to help us get across the line at the minute. I think Xhaka we really missed some of his qualities as that sort of, as I mentioned, that sort of calming force, that calming head on the field. The other change that I would make, the second change that I would make would be I'd like to bring Tierney back in. Now, I'm in a very low camp here. I'm getting a little bit fed up with this inverted fullback stuff for me. You know, I can see,
Yeah.
I can understand on paper, and I watch a lot of that Statman Dave. He's very good for tactics and formations and how they work. And we watched one the other day, didn't we, Ray, where he was talking about how the inverted fullback
How
works.
to
And
use it. Yeah.
I get it, But for me, we're I want my defenders to be able to do what they're supposed to do, and that's defend. I want them to be able to defend first. If you can do other stuff, that's a bonus, a welcome bonus. But first and foremost, I want you to be able to defend. And I'm getting a little bit weary that Zinchenko is missing quite a trick when it comes to the defensive part of the game. So for me, I'd like to bring Kieran Tierney back in. And they're the only two changes that I would make. For me, with Trossard, for me, it's like, where does he go? Who can I put him in for and take out? And what I like about Trossard is because he can play in a variety of positions, and he can be, he has an end product in those positions, no matter which one it is. I like the idea of not putting all of our cards out on the table. I like to hold something back. And by holding somebody like a Trossard back, the places where he can fit in, if we can watch that game and you see that someone looks like they're not on it on that day, they need to be taken out, then we know that we can replace them with someone that can come in, and give us and give us some end product somewhere, whether it's assist or goals.
I think we have a squad of 14, maybe 15 players we can really trust. So we can hold something back. And my lineup is something of a 4-2-2-1 or maybe a 4-2-2. Now, stay with me on this one.
4-2-2.
Yeah.
Two up front.
You're
talking my language.
Two up front, but I'm using players that can move up on the left-hand side. I'm going to use Zinchenko as the left back, but he can do that inverted thing that I kind of like. But inside of him, I'm putting Kieran Tierney as your left center back, and Gabriel maybe in the middle with Ben White.
So you're going with 3/5 at the back.
Yeah, well, I'm playing a back four. White, Gabriel, Kieran Tierney, and Zinchenko can leave left back and go into midfield when we have the ball, right? But you're not relying solely on Zinchenko. You got Kieran Tierney inside of him to give you some protection there, and Gabriel in the middle. I'm getting Holding out there because I think Arteta's got to be brutally honest here with himself and not have players in the team that are going to hurt us. Fabio Vieira being one of them, Holding being another one. Now, Partey has not played well in recent games. I would play him, but I would play Jorginho in midfield with him as kind of a double pivot, where Zinchenko could wander in there as well into midfield. And I would play Ødegaard and Trossard. Trossard deserves to start. So those are my 2-8s. And then I'm playing with maybe two wide players. And it's either Gabriel Jesus or Martinelli, but Saka on the other side. So we keep Jesus or Martinelli on the bench to come on. I actually feel Jesus could be too emotional for this game at Man City. I think Martinelli has Gabriel Jesus may be too emotional playing against former teammates for him. So my team sort of allows for some pivots with Zinchenko to go into midfield.
Well, hang on. Walcott didn't mind playing against his old team. He tucked one away.
Yeah, I know. And he didn't celebrate either.
I don't agree with sitting some of your better players because they're playing against their old team. The last thing he wants to do is lose to his old team. So
well, then I sit Martinelli.
Because if you think about it,
you want to show him what they're missing.
Yeah, exactly. No, you know what the thing for me as well is Trossard on the bench. It's like for me, I don't know if it's a good analogy or not, but it's like you might have bad brakes, and you need to fix them, so you go buy the brakes, but then they're sitting in the house, and you go driving, and then you press on the brakes, and they stop working, and you're like, damn it, I should have put them on.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I feel the way that Arteta substitutes. He doesn't put him in when he needs to. Like last game, what after 10, 20 minutes of that game led you to believe that Vieira should come out at least at halftime. Nothing about that first 45 minutes did I think, well, you know what, Vieira should get 10 minutes so I could see if something's changed. We don't have time for that. You know, we've seen him make mid game changes where we needed to change the way the game was going. Trossard was, I believe, an answer for that. Probably in maybe two of the last three games, he should have come on a lot
Yeah.
sooner.
Yeah.
Right? A lot, definitely have time in the last one because the game we needed to take control of that game and not give Southampton a sniff of well, I think we might be able to pull something off here. No, we needed to just take this game by the horns, as they say, and just take
Scruff of the neck.
all the control and then go with it and not look back. But we kind of
Yeah.
held and left things for pretty late, and we've shown, and we wanted to see a response. We got the response, but let's get that response a lot sooner. And let's just get look good going into the City match. Whereas now, even if we had won, we would still be like, that's just a really bad 45 minutes of football that we saw there. Can't
Mhm.
we respond better?
Yeah.
You
Stephen said, Ray, why would you sit Martinelli, our leading scorer in the Premier League? I would play Martinelli and Saka, and I think Gabriel Jesus sitting them on the bench and having all of that energy to bring on in the second half would be
Yeah.
important. And don't forget, chat, we'll get back on some of the comments. I know I'm way behind in the comments, but we'll check back on them. I just was conscious of giving Gary as much time as possible. I don't know how much more time you have, Gary.
Yeah, I guess
But
I probably should go before you start, or else it's going to be past the time that I need to leave.
yeah, or else
Anyways,
you're wanting to
yeah,
get into another block of conversation,
yeah.
and then you
No,
get in trouble.
thanks, Ray, for having me on, Stan. It's a pleasure talking to you. Everybody in the
Likewise, Gary.
chat, we'll see you. Yeah, tomorrow's show, I'm gonna have to postpone it tomorrow because I have work stuff going on that's gonna take me through the evening. So,
Ooh,
so yeah,
I was just
so yeah.
about to say I might be able to join you tomorrow, Gary. And then you
So,
said that you
so
weren't doing it.
Tuesday is when I'm gonna move the show to. I don't know who can join me then. So we'll
Gary, you
see.
could just let Tony do the show on your behalf
yeah,
while you're absent.
yeah.
You might not have nothing to come back
Leave it
to,
to
but
Tony. Leave it to
I
Tony.
already made a mistake the last Monday. I'm not gonna do it 2 weekends in a row. Okay.
Yes,
All right.
good for you, Gary. Good
So
for you.
yeah. So we'll see.
Tuesday
I'll see
night.
you guys on Tuesday. Whoever
Okay.
can join, I appreciate it. If you guys can come on, cool.
Tuesday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Tuesday. Yeah,
Oh, you're doing the show on Tuesday now then?
yeah. I'm just gonna
Oh,
Out
push
of
it
okay.
out
Monday.
a day. Push it out a day. So
Okay.
we'll see you guys later. Thanks for. As
All
I
right.
said,
Thanks, Gary.
we have to win this one,
This
or
is
we have
one we have
to win out and
performance.
see if City can drop points. So
A
those are
performance.
those are
Yeah.
the two things. Otherwise, it has been a good season.
Yeah.
And we are progressing, and we have a lot to look forward to.
And
If
don't
we
get me
continue,
wrong,
if we
Gary.
continue to improve the way we have, I don't expect us to drop off. We might not be able to have a chance to win next season because everybody else will improve, but we'll play much better football and we have better chances to win trophies. More than just sticking with just we're going to lose everything and then stick with one game. So yeah.
You can book Gary, you can book Tony, but you might not have any guarantees about what happens.
That is the other part to it. He's got
Um,
lots of things going on in
yeah,
his life. So
and
Come
Tony
back to
always
your
gets.
burning house.
there you
Thanks,
go.
Gary.
All
Tony
right,
always
thanks.
Cheers,
gets the
Gary.
link.
Yeah.
Tony always gets the link for these shows as well, but it's never. It's always hit and miss with him.
Tony's in a
All right.
position now. Tony's in a position now. He can just pick and choose.
He's a prima donna. Okay, so Stan, the banner down here, my insurance policies for Wednesday. If you think you're at risk of something, you take out insurance policies, right? We got to play these players.
So you mentioned when you was going through your sort of lineup and you were talking about double pivots and stuff like that. I'm very loath, especially with the game that we've got coming up, to change too much, whether that's personnel or formations that have got us to where we are this far. Because as I keep on banging on about, we started on the top of the league from day one. We've not been in fifth place, and after a few games, we've got into third. Then we've leapfrogged the second place, and now we're in first place by 1 point. We've been in the driving seat all of the way, and I believe that we should stick with what it is. Try and stick with the bare bones of what's got us to where we are, and it could be. I don't want Mikel Arteta to tinker the day before we play City, like I saw him do before. Do you remember when he put ESR as a false 9 and he had Lacazette and Aubameyang sat on the bench? It was like,
but I think
we're
we're
doing that
haunted
now?
by
We're
like
going to do that today?
we're haunted by past Arsenal teams, and we're haunted by past Arsenal results against City, and
Have a
every
plan B,
year,
maybe. Yeah, have a plan B. If what we've been doing to get us this far isn't working, have a plan B in your pocket. Have that all worked out, and we can switch to something else. But I want us to start with what we've been doing that set us in a good stead so far this season.
my worry was Partey did not play well on Friday night, and he has not been playing well. So why not put somebody in there alongside him like Jorginho that's going to help be more defensively sound against City?
The more I think about it, the more I have convinced myself that Partey's poor performances of late are connected to him fasting and his and being 30 years old. And he's not been doing this since he was a child, like an El Neni who's grown up fasting and his body is used to it. He's 30 years old. He's just recently changed and converted to a new religion, which requires him to fast. It means he can't have any, food or liquid while the sun is up. He's not used to that. I know that if I suddenly put myself onto that program today, my body would be going, hold on a minute, where's the water, man? What are you doing? Where's the biscuits? We just have biscuits and stuff around, So, and I would imagine that not only physically is it going to be take its toll on you, but it must take its toll on you mentally. You make wrong decisions. Your brain isn't getting the nourishment that it's used to be getting from food and water. So I do think that if I was on the medical team, I would be looking at Partey and trying to make sure if that's not a cause of it, because it can't be doing him any good either. Yeah. It worries me. It does worry me that there is a concern there with that, and that's maybe affecting Thomas Partey's poor performances.
Yeah. Good evening, Hendon Gunnar. Good evening to all of you who have stopped in and checking in with us. Listen, we're optimistic, we're hopeful, and it's kind of last chance saloon at the Emirates, at the Etihad for us. Good evening, panel, and everyone watching and in the chat. For me, I want that insurance policy of Kieran Tierney in the back line. Maybe address Jorginho. We kind of differ on that one, maybe, Stan, but Trossard, we want Trossard back in there for sure. We haven't.
I'd rather have Jorginho in there if I knew that Thomas Partey was going to play the same way that he did in the last game. But we won't know, will we, until we see him?
Yeah, but he didn't play well against West Ham either. His game fell apart against West Ham. So now we've had 2 games where we could say Partey hasn't had the best of games. You know what I mean? There's no way to know how he's going to play until he plays. And I don't want to be 2-0 down after 35, 40 minutes.
Do you really see Mikel Arteta, though, leaving Thomas Partey out for such a big game?
No, I'm not saying leave him out. I'm saying put Jorginho in there alongside him. And the temptation for him to put Granit Xhaka back in is something I'm worried about as well.
That worries you. I can't wait for Xhaka to get back in, because I think that I noticed more in the last game of what we're missing from him. But when he's not available, I was even thinking that with a Thomas Partey that is on his game, and is doing everything that he needs to do, is there a shout for Thomas Partey playing in Granit Xhaka's position? Because Granit Xhaka, he plays more box to box for me than Odegaard does on that side. He does go back and help out defensively. So if you can put maybe a Thomas Partey in that position if Xhaka's unavailable, and then you bring Jorginho into where Partey was, Partey could be doing a box to box and also helping out with Jorginho when needed.
Yeah. Now that's fine as long as we get Leandro Trossard into the lineup as well, because he has been deadly for us when he has been in the side.
So you would start Trossard in the position of Jesus ahead of him.
I'm going to start Trossard where Granit Xhaka would play.
Oh, are you? Okay. I thought you said Jesus. I thought you said that you felt that Jesus was too emotional for this game.
Yeah, so I would play Martinelli. I would play Martinelli up front with Saka. 2 wingers up front. Basically playing them inside left and inside right, with Odegaard and Trossard getting into the box as well. I think that would create a lot of problems for them. But at the back, I want Kieran Tierney defensively there with Gabriel and White and Zinchenko as well. Listen, our lineups mean nothing. Mikel Arteta is the one who's going to pick the team. I just hope that he's not going to. He shouldn't put Fabio Vieira in there. That experiment should be put to rest at least for another season. We're not going to get rid of Fabio Vieira, but he should have limited input to the last 6 games. The Assemble said, we haven't bottled anything, but we have a habit of not being prepared or performed to the standards of earlier in the season. And I think we're feeling the stress of Rob Holding and not having Saliba there, you know. Hendon Gunner's been busy on recent evenings, but good to have you here with us today. By the time City faced Brighton, they may have already won the league. We need to make it so we go to the last week of this. We need to win, get results at Etihad and win games at Newcastle and Chelsea. And who else have we got? Stan. A couple of other tricky ones, you know. The sad thing about the recent draws is that it's all been self-inflicted. Arrogance, hubris, lack of respect for opposition, thinking that it would be a case of the opposition just rolling over. It's hard to put your finger exactly on what's been happening, but you couldn't disagree
with that statement. To be fair,
Yeah,
as much as I'm remaining positive when I'm in, you know, at the beginning of the show, I was telling you how much I've been enjoying it, and I want to try and, you know, savor each moment. That statement that Hendon just said, I mean, it's really hard to argue against that for the last couple of games, or the last 3 games, if you're going to put Liverpool in there, of why we have 9 points and we've only taken 3 out of 9.
This question of being too emotional and it's seeping into our play. I think there's something to this and the way we're playing. Okay, we had to chase the game, right? Here's what happened against Southampton. We play very badly. Ramsdale makes a horrible mistake. Never should have passed it to Zinchenko. Should have played it differently. And then we go 2-0 down because of midfield. We lose the ball in midfield. There's a big gap. There's a great pass to Theo Walcott. He doesn't celebrate because he's a former Arsenal player. But then Zinchenko gathers the team together for, you know, a cringy G up. Let's get together in a huddle. But it did spark us getting that goal from Martinelli and Saka. But what happened from that point on till 15 minutes from the end, we didn't do a lot. You know what I mean? So it's hard to put our finger on what's going on, right, Stan?
But, you know, as we mentioned before, you know, we were looking at, we were talking about, you know, are they too emotional? Is there a lot of inexperience in this team? But if you remember, we counted up around about, between all of the players, there's like 23 league titles spread between the team that players have won, not only in the UK, but in other countries as well. You know, just a couple of examples. You know, Xhaka won back-to-back leagues with Basel. Elneny's won leagues with Basel. Fabio Vieira has won a couple of leagues as well. They may be in different leagues, but they've gone through the motions of winning a league and knowing what it can be like at the sharp end of the season. So I don't like to use the excuse anymore of inexperience and they're a young team, because, you know, we have plenty of people around that team that know what it's like to win a league.
Yeah,
and out of all of them, you would say that Zinchenko should be one of the ones that should know better, because he's done it in the United Kingdom so many times.
Yeah,
you know, with Man City, and he's looking sometimes to me as a bit of a culprit at times.
Yeah, and I think he's been put on an island a little bit. He's been put on an island in that inverted fullback position, where I said at the start of the season, I asked my brother-in-law about him, and he told me he's not defensively great, but he's good at building up play and going forward. Hendon Gunner never rated Zinchenko, and it shows why City were happy to bin him off. We have Mahir joining us.
Mahir.
Welcome, I hear.
Hey, what's happening, Stan, my guy, everybody in the chat today.
Good afternoon to you.
Sorry,
How
I'm
are
a
you?
bit low energy. I'd love for you guys to get a rant from me, a classic rant. But
It's okay.
I got sick this morning, and then yeah, man, I've just been feeling under the weather. Yeah, man.
It seems
Oh,
it
no
would appear
problem.
that it would appear that you're still in the witness protection program. So
In
that's
the dark.
I'm glad they've not found you yet. The mob.
Uh,
I've been
Sam
on the
said,
run. Yesterday was Eid, so Eid Mubarak to all the Muslim viewers that may tune into this pod.
Oh,
And
I'm so glad you're here, and you just said a word that's something that we were just talking about, and you may be able to shed a
yeah,
bit of light on this
may be able
because
to help. Yeah.
we were talking about Thomas Partey, and I've noticed over the last few games that his levels have dropped quite significantly for Thomas Partey. But then it occurred to me, Mahia, that he has recently converted his religion. He's 30 years old, and he's just
yeah,
recently, I think,
100%.
converted his religion. So he has been going through a period of fasting, right? And I'm thinking to
Yeah.
myself, as somebody that in his position that hasn't grown up with this, his body's not used to, periods of fasting. Is there a possibility that being 30 years old, and this is his first time doing it, that the fasting is affecting him physically and maybe mentally for making decisions because he's just not used to having a lack of water and food at this time? Is there anything in that?
Oh,
And
yeah,
also, how long is the period for? Is it over soon? And what's
100%.
the
Okay. So so basically, what happens is the first prayer in the morning, which is normally in the early hours of the morning. Here in South Africa, it's about from 6 o'clock. So 6 o'clock we'll start fasting. That's no water and no food, as you guys do know. And then throughout the day up until 6 in the evening, up until 6:30. And in UK, it's actually much longer. I think in UK,
Because of
it's
the
actually like
position of the
three
sun.
hours longer.
Yeah.
So, absolutely, Stan, you're absolutely right. Especially not if it's like one of his first fasts that he's been doing it. I mean, to be an elite footballer already, your levels have to be right up there. And like you normally start fasting when you're around, I would say 8, 9, 10, 10-ish. So just as you're becoming a teen, maybe,
Hmm.
and you become used to it. Like you become very used to not even watching your tongue, as per se. With all the yellow and red cards and all the offenses that happen on the pitch as well. So yeah, man, that could be a very possible big reason why he's experiencing such a drop off in levels. But then again, there are a few Muslim. I'm not quite too sure, but I think Xhaka is Muslim as well, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm.
But I
And
mean, someone that
Xhaka's been
obviously El Neni is, but I would imagine that, like you say, someone like El Neni probably began when he was 10 years old, like you said, right? So he's
yeah,
used to it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
30 years
Riyad
old,
Mahrez.
30 years
yeah,
old to
man,
suddenly do that, it must be quite a shock for the body to
Yeah.
suddenly be
yeah.
changing your routine at 30.
And maybe Thomas Partey is suffering through that for this month long fasting period of Ramadan. You know, when does it come to an end? My here,
No,
Ramadan.
yesterday was Eid. Yesterday.
Oh, yesterday was Eid. Okay, so
Yeah, so no wonder Stan is saying I'm in the witness protection because yeah, back to bad habits today. so so I had to go on the run.
uh,
So, then
Arteta,
if that period's over, then there's a possibility then that it's,
you can
you know,
return to
he could return to the
the
Thomas Partey that,
normal
that,
Partey.
that we
Yeah,
remember.
we know and love, and maybe the insurance policy of a Jorginho is not required. You know, Russ said apparently Arteta wanted Jorginho for years. Jorginho has won things, but Arteta chose
Nah, that
Vieira.
was a big mistake.
Fabio
Ray, that
Vieira,
is a huge
not here.
mistake.
Fabio Vieira, that experiment needs to stop now. He needs to sit on the bench, and if we're winning 3-0 or 3-1, he can come on. You know what I mean?
Stan, Ray, I was just saying to somebody yesterday, also a Guna, a friend of mine. I was just saying to him, Fabio Vieira looks the sort of model where you throw a twig at him and he would break.
Yeah.
You'd much rather put
I
him
don't
with
care if he looks thin or if he looks slight. He's not able for the physicality. His performances are not there and not good enough.
What
You know what I mean?
no, Ray? What a waste, man! What a waste of 30 plus mil.
Look,
Because
we're not going to bin him off yet. We just bought him
no,
last
not running
summer.
off. I'm just saying, like it could have been put so much better usage if you understand. If you get me, I mean,
For
the
me, the
likes of
bigger problem, the bigger problem is Trossard has not been starting games, and Leandro
yeah,
Trossard needs to play in the position Vieira was playing yesterday, Friday. You know,
absolutely. That was a ridiculous choice. To be fair, Ray, how many
Mhm.
times, Stan, have you and I and Ray and Tony and Gary and Sam and everybody in the chats, the Arsenal fans, Circle fan, family, been saying, why not move in that case? Why not move Zivchenko into the middle and play a proper left back? I'm so sick of these people getting at Tierney for one game. Yes, he may have been poor or he may not have been on levels that we need him, but like, why not go with that instead of putting a Vieira who's had like one, I think he's had one game.
Mhm.
One game that we possibly saw something, and I mean that was against, even if I'm not mistaken, a Leeds or Fulham, one of the bottom teams.
Yeah.
And like we saw versus Southampton, I wanted to go on a rant because I'm sure you guys discussed it before I came in, but bottling 3-2, oh my days, not the Southampton, but bottling 2-0 where we were in the driver's seat, where you can get a three. I'm saying, for example, you get a three, and then you stink out. How you guys say? Stink out the gaff, and then just stink out the gaff, man. Fuck the pass at a three, and then just control the game. But like you guys say, Trossard not being included, absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous, really. To be fair. Yeah, man, guys. I can't say much more. Getting a bit too excited. Just fixing myself here in the dark. Yeah, there we go. But that last three, man, it's
Last
gonna
three
hurt us.
draws. Yeah.
It's gonna hurt us.
Here we go again, Stan. It's like we put together three poor results in our season, and we need to rectify that by getting a win up at Man City. Okay, so we know all of the good things Arsenal can do. Fantastic periods of play. We have great players who are putting up great numbers. Martinelli and Saka, Erdegaard, even Gabriel Jesus started scoring again. But we have to look at our weaknesses. Our weaknesses are maybe Granit Xhaka in that position, maybe our left back, and our squad depth. And lately, it's been set pieces that we've fallen down on as well.
I would have to say that lately, to me, that the biggest deficiency and where we seem to have a problem is defensively, because we're just letting in too many goals. And as I mentioned earlier, we've been able to put masking tape over it for periods of the season because we've come back from behind and won games and seen them out, and then we forget about that. But you have to look back and see that we have. I mean, we've been more successful on the road than we have at home. You know, we're having more problems at our home stadium than we are on the road, and this is something that we need to look at. And as I say, we seem to be happy with the individuals that we have as our defense, the centre backs and the four full backs. We all seem to like them. We all seem to like the goalkeeper. So what is the problem? Is it they need better coaching? Is there a weak link in there that, you know, that although we might like them, is there somebody in there that we're not seeing a deficiency? What is it? Because the defensive part of our game is beginning to cost us. And in the last 3 games, there were 9 points available, Okay. If you say, okay, we accept a draw at Liverpool, there's still another 6 points on the table.
Mhm.
And we've not got as much as a buffer that we should have. We should have a much nicer buffer ahead of Man City at the moment. We're not making it easy for ourselves, but we never did. We didn't make it easy for ourselves in 1989. It's things like 1989 that still give me a glimmer of hope. Going up against Liverpool back in 89, who were the best team in Europe at the time. And not only did we have to go to Anfield and get a win, we had a caveat. It wasn't just a straightforward win. We had to win by 2 clear goals. There was a requirement, and we managed to do it. It's things like that that are giving me a glimmer of hope to hold on to cling on to, that we can still get the major trophy at the end of this season.
Yeah.
And I'm not giving up any hope until I look at the table and I see a C next to either our name or Man City's name as champions.
Yeah.
It's not over until that happens.
Exactly. Sam said if we still win this title, there are a lot of fans who will look like mugs out there.
Including myself.
It's easy though. It's easy though to sit back and say, including yourself, Mahir, of course, we'll hold you accountable. Don't worry. But you'll be happy to do that. But it's easy to sit back and say, we're not going to win the league. I saw this coming. And then be happy if we actually do it. And you saved yourself both ways, Stan, when you do that. I told you this would happen. I knew we wouldn't do it. And then we win it. Oh, I'm celebrating like everyone else, which, of course, you're entitled to do. But you're playing both sides of the fence a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just trying to. We go every game at a time. But don't get it wrong. Even though I feel positive and I've got a positive outlook towards the finish, I am disappointed of the points that we've dropped over the last 3 games, and I'm not going to make any excuses for it either, because it's a combination to me that some of the games that we've lost, and we've talked about it more. We've talked about those games more in depth from past podcasts as they happened. But I think it's quite fair to say that when you are trying to look at fault or how we could have improved, I think the blame lays squarely at both players and the managers. They didn't help each other.
Yeah.
There's players that made some mistakes, and it's been players that you're thinking, well, we shouldn't expect mistakes, costly mistakes from certain players, and they've been doing them. And then the manager's not been helping by, especially in the Liverpool game. They showed their hand first with their substitutions and showed us that they were going to go on a more attacking front by bringing on Bobby Firmino. And we withdrew some of our creative players and went defensively and brought on Kivior. And for that, for me, I can't understand what Mikel Arteta was trying to do or what his thinking was in those substitution moments. So the blames for our faults lie squarely at the manager and players.
The situation at Anfield is you allow Jurgen Klopp to seize the initiative by bringing subs on first. And then Arteta had to be reactive to those subs. Or he could have went completely the other way, like Arsene Wenger, bring on all of his forwards as well. But I think he was a little bit outwitted by Jurgen Klopp there. And Mikel Arteta's got to learn from these fine in-game management situations as well. You mentioned the 89 Stan, if only social media was around in 1989, we had, I think, 11-point lead. We lost on the penultimate weekend, we lost to Derby County 2-1, Dean Saunders' goal. We were supposed to go and get points against Wimbledon. That ended up as a 2-2 draw. So you could mirror what's happening to us now. We got a draw with Southampton before we go to the Etihad, and nobody gave Arsenal a hope in hell of even getting a draw at Anfield in 1989. And we had to win 2-0.
Yeah, had to be 2 clear goals with the caveat.
I wouldn't want anybody to be disrespecting the 97 fans. So if somebody did say something, please refrain from doing that. Yeah, we had to go to Anfield and win 2-0. And, winning 1-0 wouldn't have done the job in the day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was other instances. Man City have been doing to us. Maybe they're hunting us down, Stan. What we did to Manchester United in '98, we won 12 games in a row. So in some ways it can be easier to chase rather than be chased. You know what I mean?
But Ray, what what we had just discussed now, what we had said was when Agustin was saying about the points, I tallied it up. It would have been 11 points going into the game going into the game in the Etihad. It was 6 points dropped, and we were and we still five ahead, but they've got 2 games in hand. But with that buffer, I mean, 2 games in hand would have been 6 points. We still would have been the amount of points that we have now, 5 ahead. We could have gone to the Etihad and gotten a draw. We could have gone
Yep.
to
Yep.
Newcastle, for example, and as tough as that's going to still be, gotten a draw there as well. We still would have been ahead. It still would
Yeah.
have been with
Now-
us a nice buffer.
I want us to go to the Etihad with the mindset of winning the game. If by some way we get a draw there, this thing is still alive. We
You
still
think
have
so?
a 5 point. We still have a 5 point gap. They will still have 2 games in hand, but we will be feeling that a Brighton or a Brentford or an Everton need to take points from them, but this thing continues even with a draw. What's most damaging for me on Wednesday is if we lose and lose heavily up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I love the positivity thinking that, can somebody please send me a Brentford shirt or a Brighton shirt so I can become a seagull and
I
I'll
want,
fly
I
over.
want, I want us to become Brentford fans and Brighton fans.
Yo, come on, Brighton, man.
But Mahir, you're feeling like it's slipping away from us, right? So
You know what? If I'm very dead honest with you, if you I haven't posted any videos recently. I went on a 2-day streak, posting like 8 videos, transfer videos and stuff. And then I just haven't posted. I made a rant yesterday, but then again, yesterday I was sick, so I wasn't really ranting. It just sounded like me saying, damn it, another 2-0. How can we start off so slow? Sounds so monotonous, man. When a person is sick.
Stan, we're in that situation. And Mahir, very respectfully, Mahir feels a little bit more negative about it than maybe you or I feel about it. Let's just talk for a minute before we play Kahoot. Let's talk. And it's funny talking about like pessimistic Arsenal fans and optimistic Arsenal fans before we play Kahoot. But it does feel like a certain percentage of Arsenal fans have fractured away from the good feeling that we've had all through this season, and now are starting to see our hope that the worst doesn't happen. You know what I mean?
But there's probably a high percentage of our fan base who this is probably their first time seeing Arsenal at a title run.
Mm.
That there is that possibility, and so you can understand. Our last title was 19 years ago. That's almost 2 decades. If this is a section of our supporters seeing their first title, I can understand the nerves. But like certain people like Hendon, a lot of us who are a lot older. Hendon's 4 years older than me. We've been through a few titles in the past, and as I say, there are people out there supporting football clubs who've never even seen their club go to a cup final at Wembley, a domestic cup final. Never seen it, and there we are, knee deep in 14 FA Cup trophies.
Mm-hmm.
For me, it's about continuously building. And a lot of the guys were talking in the chat about Pep and having the right ingredients and so forth. I look at it this way. It could turn out that Manchester City have been able to lead the pack because they've had more resources than they should have had. They've been able, allegedly, they've been able to go out and bring in players which they should never have really been allowed to bring into the club because the way that they've been managing their finances shouldn't have allowed them to do that. That's given them an edge. That's why there's a big investigation. So for us to be able to keep abreast of them this season, and we're doing things the right way, should also give us a bit of a lift as well of how we're doing our stuff.
Yeah,
we're
Stephen, thank you.
we're battling against somebody that's got the bigger odds against us because they've had more resources.
Yeah. Here's the situation. We talk about a squad. Man City have a squad that they could put an A team and a B team
There's
into
probably
the
a C
Premier
team
League.
as well. There's probably a C team in there.
And those two teams would fill the top 4 spots, Stan, without any problem at all. You know what I mean? They could mix their team up. They could put their second worst players in every position, push the team out, and still finish in the top 4 after a full season. That's what we're up against. Arsenal, we recognize the areas in our team where we need to get better, fix up. We need a right centre back to replace Rob Holding. We need a midfielder to help with our aging midfield that's already there. Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka. We have Trossard. We need to recognize that Trossard should be playing most games as well and have him in a pretty settled position, but also knowing that he can move around and be. We still don't lose any quality when we move Trossard around different positions. And we still have this issue at left back, whether it be injuries have not hurt us this season, but it's been inconsistent still at left back in terms of losing goals.
We need a defensive left back, actual defensive left back. Like why? I don't understand why Arteta's left out Tierney. I know Shevchenko's proved his worth as per se, Stan, but you know when you're looking at more of a defensive side of things, why not shift Shevchenko if he's doing so well into the middle? You know, that's my only. What's
Yeah.
the word?
Okay. Stick around, Stan, if you can. Maybe you're playing, Stan. Stick around, my here.
Okay, then.
We're going to play the Kahoot, then we'll get back into this conversation, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Gotcha.
We have my here. I'm so happy to have my here. We don't usually see him with us. It's been a tough time.
Even when he's here, we don't usually see him.
Yeah, normally in the
in the shadows.
True.
I mean the gulag. The gulag. Waiting for somebody to
gulag. There we go.
Yeah, guys, you know.
All right.
Come, when you guys just said that, now I know we're about to play Kahoot. Everybody's in a very good mood, or not so much good mood, but at least smiling, you know, and optimistic. But over the past few weeks, man, it's just been a little crazy.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, we're with you, my hair. Saliba's back is here. Mr. Tom Bebe. Peter Parker. Good to see you, Peter Parker. Playing Kahoot. Tim White is here. Stephen O.T. is here as well. Peps Billions, Thunder Party is here. Peter Parker and Tim White are new names, so good to see you here.
Man.
We're going to get started in about 10 seconds. Right, here we go. Got 7 of you in there, so good luck, everybody. Have a little bit of fun, then we'll talk more City when we get back in here. Who made more appearances for Arsenal? Dennis Bergkamp, Tony Adams, Paul Davis, or David Seaman? Who made more appearances for Arsenal? I'm trying to make it difficult for Tom these days. He's been cleaning up. All right, 7 correct answers. Tony Adams. Tony Adams on 504 appearances. I think he's like lifted the trophy 3 times. Peter Parker in the lead. Tim White second. Mr. Tom third. Saliba's back 4th, and Thunder Party 5th. Okay, former Swedish winger for Arsenal. Glenn Helder. Stan knows Glenn Helder. Robert Perez. Anders Limpar. Eddie McGoldrick. 7 correct answers. Anders Limpar. Super Swede. Limpar. Peter Parker in the lead. Tim White second. Mr. Tom is close up third. All right, third one. What was Wenger's first Arsenal game in charge? Was it Blackburn Rovers? Was it Sheffield Wednesday? Was it Liverpool? Was it Sheffield United? When Arsene Wenger came to England, what was his first game for Arsenal? All right, 3 correct answers for Blackburn Rovers. 2-0 win. I think Ian Wright scoring one of the goals on the day. Mr. Tom has a streak of 3 in a row. Saliba's back up into the lead here. Tim White second. Mr. Tom third. Peter Parker is in 4th place. And Thunder Party in 5th. Plenty of time to go here for everybody. Arsenal Invincibles got 90 points. But in what way did they get to 90 points? Was it 12 wins, 26 draws? Was it 28 wins, 10 draws? Was it 26 wins, 12 draws? Or was it 30 wins, 8 draws? A little bit of quick math. And I want you to remember this, everybody. Quick math will be needed for a question later in the show. So remember the answers. 26 wins, 12 draws, 4 of you were correct. Saliba is back, maintains his lead. Mr. Tom in 2nd. Tim White, 3rd place. Thunder Party, 4th. Peps Billions in 5th place. Okay, still very competitive at the top here. What team did Patrick Vieira make his Arsenal debut against? What team did Vieira play against for his first Arsenal game? Sheffield Wednesday, Man United, Aston Villa, or Everton? Three correct answers. It was Sheffield Wednesday. I think we won the game 4-2. When he came on, he turned the game around. We knew his quality in his first game, Patrick Vieira. Saliba's back, still in 1st place. Tim White 2nd, up to 2nd. Tom is down to 3rd. Peps Billions in 4th place. And Thunder Party is in 5th. Still a lot of people in this one. How many games did it take Johnny Jensen to score his first Arsenal goal? How many games did it take John Jensen to score his first Arsenal goal? 94, 96, 98, 100, or 102? The correct answer and speed is the way to go in this game. 98 was the correct answer. Not an easy one for everyone. Nobody got that one right. So as you were, everybody, and we go straight to the next one. So 98 games for Johnny Jensen. He hadn't scored. Who scored Arsenal's first competitive goal at the Emirates in 2006? Edu, Gilberto, Perez, or Bergkamp? Who scored Arsenal's first competitive goal at the Emirates in 2006? It was against Aston Villa. I think it was a draw.
Edu.
Gilberto. Edu doesn't score, Mahir. Edu doesn't score. Peps Billions up into 2nd place. Peps, he better score in the summer, though. Peps Billions up to 2nd place. Saliba is back, still in 1st place. Tim White, 3rd. Mr. Tom Bebe, 4th, and Thunder Party in 5th place. It would be good if Saliba's back one. How many trophies did George Graham win at Arsenal? How many trophies did George Graham win at Arsenal? 4, 6, 8, or 2? I think it was about 7 or 8 years that George Graham was with Arsenal. 6 is the correct answer. 4 of you were correct. He won 2 leagues in 89 and 91. He won the League Cup in 87, my first trophy that I witnessed Arsenal winning. He won another league and FA Cup double in 1993 and the Cup Winners' Cup in 94. Pep's Billions up into first place. Saliba's back is second. Mr. Tom third. We are getting close to the end here. We got 3 left. First Arsenal player to score 100 league goals. First Arsenal player to score 100 league goals. Ted Drake, Jimmy Brain, Cliff Baston, or Henry King. This is a tough one. You know the answer, Mahir? It was Jimmy Brain. Jimmy Brain, first one. Okay, we go to the last 2 here. Here is the addition question. Add the trophies George Graham won with Arsenal and the games it took to John Jensen to score his first goal. What is the total? So add up the amount of games it took Johnny Jensen to score his first goal with the amount of trophies George Graham won. Put them together. 98, 102, 104. 5 of you were right with 104. It's 98 games plus 6 trophies, 104. Pep's Billions is in the lead. Mr. Tom is second. Tim White, third. And Thunder Party is fourth. Positions will be decided by the last question. Here we go, everybody. Who managed Arsenal after George Graham and before Arsene Wenger? Was it Stuart Houston? Was it Bruce Rioch? Was it Bertie Mee or David O'Leary? After George Graham and before Arsene Wenger. The manager that signed Dennis Bergkamp was Bruce Rioch. Okay, we have the podium. In third place, Pep's Billions in third place. Tim White came second, the valiant effort, Tim White. But in first place, it is Mr. Tom again. I can't believe runners up where Saliba's back.
I thought Stuart Houston was the next manager in between Bruce Rioch and George Graham. Interim.
No, it's just he was a caretaker at times, but he wasn't the one. So listen, good job, everybody, especially begrudgingly. We have to say Mr. Tom wins again, Stan. Becoming rather annoying, Mr. Tom.
I don't play. So I only play games that I know that I can win. I'm a really sore loser, right? Monopoly, Scrabble. I only play games that I know that I can win because it's not worth getting a hump about.
Yeah. And it's just Kahoot. It's like, let him win. Let Tom win. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's got encyclopedias. So.
So, Stan, can Arsenal turn the tables on Man City?
Yeah. In a nutshell. Yeah.
Yeah.
Football.
We can.
It's a game of football. We keep talking about on paper you should do this and do that. We should have beat a lot of teams this season on paper when we didn't.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Anything is possible.
Yeah.
As you say, if we come out of that game with a win or a draw, it's still on.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure about a loss and the manner of the loss as well.
Yeah.
You know?
A win would mean 8 points, right?
A win would mean 8 points. They would have 2 games in hand. We would have a 2 point. We would have a 2-point cushion. Do you know what I mean?
Okay,
even
maybe
if
I
they would win.
Given up, but only with the winner.
Yeah, so here's the permutation stand in my here. A win for us would turn the tables on City because we would have that 2-point advantage even if they won their 2 games in hand. A draw means we take this thing on further and we rely on Everton, Leeds, Brighton, Brentford, Fulham even. I thought Fulham would be on the beaches, but they unfortunately beat Leeds yesterday. But it tells me Fulham are still playing competitively and not stuck in the mid-table thing. So a draw would keep things moving, but obviously we're waiting for City to drop a point, some point somewhere, Stan. And the talk of the treble is growing now for City.
Good. That's more pressure on them, isn't it? And that's less headlines and back pages about us. It's more about them.
Yeah.
That's exactly what we need.
Yeah.
Let them feel the pressure
Yeah.
of trying to get a treble.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
The pressure is on us now on Wednesday, not on City.
Mhm.
Really, I would actually say the pressure could be off Arsenal now because the talk is of the treble, and nobody's really expecting us to go to City and win. But I think we can surprise them on Wednesday night. I don't think it's going to be as cut as dry as people think it's going to be.
If we beat City, will people be saying that City have bottled it? Do you think they'll say that? City have bottled it. Do you think they'll say that? Of course they won't.
No, they won't say it because that's kind of the stench that Arsenal has to get off of their clothing. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We still haven't played anyone yet.
From from last season, you know?
Haven't played anyone yet.
We'll get through a few comments here. It's amazing what a bit of hard work and 2 billion can get you for Man City. Assembled, that is like saying a chef knows how to make a good cake with the best ingredients. It is pretty much logical. I would like to see Pep. Yeah, put Pep in at Chelsea. You know, I don't think they'd be winning the league, but he probably would be doing better. Pep will never leave City until he wins the Champions League. And it's not a given this season either against Real Madrid. I know, but if I could spend $1 billion and my money doubles, that's a good risk in business. Okay, let's get it through a few more. You have anything else to throw in, Stan?
No, not really.
The assembles that Stan, don't forget Arsenal got quite a lot of money from City's dominance.
I do have one thing I'd like to mention, actually.
Decent players to them.
I do have something I'd like to mention. It was something that was brought up on a podcast that I was on yesterday, over on Goals Arto's podcast. So, I mean, just looking at the board, the owners, our business in the transfer. Okay, a lot of fans, or a section of the fans, I should say, like to point out that the owners have never spent 200-300 million out of their own pocket. They've never actually backed the manager with their own money. Okay, it's only been what's been released from the club. Do you think that's a good or a bad thing? What's your thoughts on that? And let me know in the chat box as well. Do you think it's a bad thing that our owners haven't spent 200-300 million out of their own pocket? Because my answer to that is why should the Cronkies have to give us or give the club 200-300 million out of their own pocket if they're able to already provide the manager with adequate funds which have been generated through operational procedures of the club? If we're able to furnish the manager with the money that we're bringing in through operations, why do you have to put your hand into your own pocket and give them even more money? To me, that doesn't make any business sense. And if you are in a situation where you're not able to give your manager adequate funds through operational, what's generated through operations, and you're having to give them money out of your own pocket, then you've got a problem. Your business isn't running correctly, and that's a model that can't be sustained. You can't be propped up with your own personal money. But nobody answered that, but they did make a good point of literally shouting about how our owners, they've never given him anything out of their own pockets, only been funds that have been released. That's all. And I'm sitting there thinking, and the problem is, we've not been going around capping out in the transfer market. Mikel Arteta was itching to spend 80-90 million on Mudryk, and the same again in Caicedo. The money's there. Okay, we brought in a player for free in Jorginho, and we spent 21 million on Trossard. That's not a bad thing. Look at Chelsea across the road. 600 million they've spent on players, and they can't get it right. They've wasted over 80 million on the manager in the money that they've had to pay him off, and the 21 million they had to pay to get him in the first place. Yeah. So I don't think that you can quantify money spent on results. It doesn't. Chelsea have shown us that it doesn't work that way. You need to have the right person in play. Do you know what I mean? To use the funds and to work with the players that you're bringing in. The manager plays an integral part. You can't just throw cash at the problem and expect that to give you silverware. Because if you did expect that, if you did think it was like that, Look at Chelsea, and then that should make you rethink.
Yeah. Fans want to have a sugar daddy. Fans want to have lots of money thrown in their club, but you have to do it responsibly and you have to do it properly. You have to target the right players. Man City have shown that they have a good ability to find the right players, and they spend the required transfer fee, but they also pay their players really, really well. So they are attractive in that sense. But I think it's a good thing to live within your means, and the Assemble agrees, Stan. We are sustainable in terms of the funds that we generate through our programs and how we run our business. It's used responsibly in building our team up. And Mikel, as we said earlier, I think you or Gary said, Mikel Arteta is going to go cap in hand to say, give me money to get Declan Rice or Caicedo for this summer, and to have those players to go into Champions League next year. So
I'd probably even wager that those discussions have already taken place, and I think that the owners probably know what moves are going to be made.
The thing with Declan Rice as well, we're quite lucky in our cycle and the cycle of football that Declan Rice wants to stay within London. And a few years ago, Chelsea would have been the place that he's going. No ifs, ands, or buts. But he's going to look at Chelsea and see how they're run, and look at Arsenal and see how they're run. And honestly, where would you go if you were Declan Rice? Would you go to Chelsea or would you go to Arsenal this summer?
Me personally, I'm still kind of deciding on whether I feel that Declan Rice is even who we should be going for. For me. You know, I don't get to watch a lot of him. I don't watch West Ham games. I saw him against us the other day, but we were playing quite poorly. You know, but
didn't he help? Didn't he help them get a result against us? You know,
yeah. But just looking at his numbers of the amount of games that he's played compared to goals and assists, it's shockingly low. Shockingly low.
Yeah,
it's something like
and I was thinking, what?
And it's something like 180 games, something like 180 games, and it's like something like 3 goals and 5 assists or something like that. However, then there is another argument that player under a different manager in a different team in a different system, you may be able to get a different style of play out of them as well, and then help improve them. So, and you know, I know that Declan Rice comes with a lot of good press, and I know that a lot of people seem to like him. I'm not 100% completely sold, only because I've never spent a lot of time really watching him. You know, I mean,
I think you could definitely help us. Yeah.
Do you think 80-90 million is the going rate for him? Is that money well spent? Are we overspending? Because there's also talks about Lavia from Southampton.
Yeah.
Who did look quite good when we played him on Friday. I was
Man City. Man City will have first dibs on him as well.
On who?
Because he is a City player. Or City did sell him. Yeah. City did sell him to Southampton. But they will have first option of him. The Assemble doesn't personally think Rice is the right fit. Declan wouldn't be an upgrade. He's overrated and overpriced, says Riddy.
Because I kind of felt that way, but you know, I didn't want to be too harsh, because as I say, I've never really seen him, but he gets picked regularly for England. Some people say that he was instrumental in getting us to one of the finals that England got into, even in the Euros or whatever. So I do hear a lot of good things about him, but I just wondered what everybody felt, because at the end of the day, it's a lot of money to drop on one player. And I'm always a little bit cautious after dropping the amount of money that we spent on Nicolas Pepe, how it's going to turn out. You know, we're sort of
Premier League proven,
but we have to get it right. We can't. We're not like a Man City who can, or a Chelsea who can afford to make mistakes just by going out and throwing more money at the problem. We have to get it right.
He's not injured very much as well, Stan. You know, so, and he's been in the Premier League since the age of like 17 or 18 when he broke into the West Ham team. You'd think that he's around forever. He's been around for 6 years. He's 24 years old, coming into his prime. And if we're gonna retool for a Partey or rest Partey, we can play Rice in his position. And as Sam said, He's not meant to really get assists. He breaks up play. And I think there's players at West Ham ahead of him that are using the ball. So he doesn't really get. And West Ham's a team that maybe gets transitioned on a lot. So Rice is always conscious of that and not trying to get ahead of the ball. You know what I mean? At Arsenal, I think he could get into the box a little bit more and his numbers could get better. Sam says he's very good and wanted by all the top clubs for a reason. Yeah, true. I think there's something where he doesn't want to leave the capital, though, which gives us an edge over Liverpool, Newcastle, City, or Man United. You know what I mean? We have to trust Arteta and Edu with the recruitment. They've had more hits than misses. That's the thing as well. We're all talking about Fabio Vieira. We're talking about our past with Aubameyang, Lacazette, Guendouzi. We've had more hits than misses. Willian, we all remember the bad ones, right, Stan?
But I still think it's still a little bit premature to totally give up on Teabag. And the reason I say that is that, you know, when Martin Odegaard was on loan with us, you know, there were a lot of people when he went back to Real Madrid that didn't want him back. I remember people saying, let's not get him back. Let's get Buendia instead. Let's pay double the money that we could get Martin Odegaard for, and let's spend that double the money on James Maddison.
Yeah.
You know, I actually quite liked him in the loan period, and I felt that he could be very useful to us, and I also felt that we'd be very lucky if we could get him on a permanent move. Mm-hmm. So, you know, maybe we need to give Teabag a little bit more time. He didn't really have much of a pre-season. We spent about 32 million on him, which is a bit of change, a nice chunk of change. They must have seen something in him to spend 32 million on. And it was probably the fact that he had the highest assists in his league that season. And it was quite some number that his assists were. It was quite a high number, I believe. So he must have something in him. Although when he played against the Portuguese team in the Europa League game, his performance really surprised me, and not in a good way, because I kind of felt that he was, you know, he was going up against opponents that he would have probably faced quite a lot of times from Portugal. Probably knew a lot of the players on first name basis, has faced them. So, but he actually looked quite out of sorts in that game. Do you know what I mean? Where you would have think that out of everybody, he might have a bit of an edge. Because he knows that team, he's played in that league, he plays at that tempo, but he seemed far away from it.
With Fabio Vieira, I'm willing to give him another year and see if he comes on next season, adapts to the Premier League a little bit more. But I'm not willing to put him in a tough game. I don't want to put him in a situation where it's a competitive. The result hangs in the balance for the remainder of the season. You know, if we're 2-0 up or 3-0 up, then bring him on by all means. But he can't start games. When it comes to City as well, Stan, this game on Wednesday, we cannot carry a player like that. We've got to put an 11 on the field that we know we can trust with ball security and holding the ball and ball retention.
The choice of Patrick, the Fabio Vieira coming off of the bench and now starting games is really showing me also how far Emil Smith-Rowe must be down in the pecking order.
Yeah.
He's way down there, isn't he?
Yeah. I'm going to get to Emil Smith-Rowe in a second because I want to talk about that for sure. Sam said Rice broke up a lot of our play in the last game against West Ham. He made Partey look like a mug. And I feel like Rice was almost auditioning for the part, trying to get into this Arsenal team and impress Arteta if he's not already impressed. The 19-year-old Southampton player ran all over.
Sam says that he's not meant to get assists because of his position, but you know, deep lying central midfielders, you know, they still get assists, don't they? They still are able to split the defense with a long pass. I've seen that happen on a lot, and I'm saying, I'm not doubting that he's a good player. I'm just saying that looking at the numbers. The amount of games he's played, I can't remember what the number is, but it's a high one.
And I don't know
what I call the output.
Yeah,
it was just a little bit low, and it's just something that I remark. But I know that he does other things, that he breaks up play. But you know, it would be nice to see him being able to set somebody off on a run that scores a goal. And as I say, maybe under Mikel Arteta, he'll bring that out of him.
Stan,
It's
I
a very
don't know what.
very different team playing for Arsenal than it would be for playing for West Ham under David Moyes.
Yeah. I don't know what Partey's numbers are, but maybe I'll look later. Partey's numbers compared to Declan Rice and see if there's a big difference, at least for the last couple of seasons. You know what I mean? They may be similar. I know Partey scored at least 2 goals for us. Vieira's had enough chance to show that he isn't developing how we want. We can do better, and we need to be more ruthless. You can't really judge Vieira in the minutes he's had over the entire season. There is a player in there, so we're willing to see what he can do.
And I like that. If you look at those 2 last comments, are very, very different. So it seems like people seem to be, in a little snapshot that we have here in our community, it seems that there is a bit of a divide on Vieira. I'm personally not willing to give up on him totally yet. I'd like to give him more of an opportunity to see if it's a settling problem. Because I have seen some glimpses and some nice things for him. He has put the ball in the back of the net and created some assists. But I noticed in that game against Southampton where it's like he's in a position where you think, okay, take a shot, and he does these like lofted chip passes with nothing on it. And I'm thinking to myself, well, what are you doing there? You're trying to loft the keeper or with nothing on it. What are you doing there? Yeah. Are you hoping it's okay running in to get their head on it? I mean, I don't know about that.
Yeah. It's okay to be divided on this topic. Fabio Vieira came with an injury and had no preseason as well. So, yeah, mixed results from Sam and Russ on that one. The assembled here, let's see. There's a player at Leipzig who plays in the same position. His name escapes me, but I watched him live against Milan in Champions League. I don't know if it's in Kunku. Maybe he's going to go to Chelsea, I think.
He plays more up front, doesn't he? He plays more up. He's more.
I'm willing to see what Fabio Vieira can do next season. And I want to see Trossard maybe push Xhaka out of the field, out of the game a little bit as well. Now, Emile Smith-Rowe. What's your feelings about Emile Smith-Rowe, whether it be, that left 8, it's Granit Xhaka, it's Trossard, but it's not really been Emile Smith-Rowe. And I'm sort of feeling it's like an injury thing, Stan. Does the manager not like him? Does the manager not fancy him in this position? Or is it an injury that he hasn't recovered from?
But if it's an injury thing, he got selected and went away on England duty, didn't he? I think it was like the 23s or something like that.
Yeah.
Played most of the game and scored a goal. The last time we saw him, when he came on, he headed that ball into the box, which was an assist, and then got withdrawn.
Yep.
But I think the most telling thing I think about Emile Smith-Rowe was the comment that Mikel Arteta said about him when he was asked about Emile Smith-Rowe. He said something along the lines of, "It's not about what you did last year. It's about what you're doing today."
Mm-hmm.
So you can look at that in many different ways. Is he not?
Yeah.
Does that mean that he's not pleased with what he's seeing in training? He believes that Emile Smith-Rowe, from what he's seen in the past, should be doing more in training.
Yeah.
Does it mean that as a team, where we were last year, Mikel Arteta believes that the team has moved on since that point, and there are some players that haven't come along with us that have been left behind a little bit, like Emile Smith-Rowe, perhaps Rob Holding, Kieran Tierney. And I'm just saying, in the eyes of the manager, not my opinions.
Yeah,
maybe
I tend to believe it's training. We saw this in the All or Nothing documentary when Arteta was out sick. He had to be away from the ground, and he was watching the footage of training. When he came back, and he's like, I know for a fact.
He was in a room with all of these TV screens that showed you all different places around the club and on the training fields.
And he said, I can tell you for a fact that 2 or 3 of you were not training the way I want you to train. And I would have told you to go home if I'd have been here. You know what I mean? I think these are the standards that I don't get it why lots of Arsenal fans don't rate Mikel Arteta. But he has set standards in place that the players have to reach, or else he's not happy. We've seen what Arsenal have been like 4 or 5 years ago.
I mean, when it comes to training, I mean, I will say that it was notoriously known that during the week Patrick Vieira wasn't a very good trainer, but would always, 9 times out of 10 deliver the goods on match day.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe Mikel Arteta has a different mindset where it's like, no, you train during the week. You train to play. You're training to get yourself into the team on Saturday.
Gary has been talking like that for years. You play like you train, and Arteta is extolling those virtues that Gary's been mentioning. Sam Greenwood said we needed to see more at this point from Vieira than what we saw at home versus bottom side Southampton. And I just thought he played very within himself and very cautiously. He didn't take a chance. I think you kind of alluded to that yourself, Stan. Fabio Vieira.
Just staying with ESR, I also feel that if he was injured, if he wasn't fit enough to play, he wouldn't be on the bench. He wouldn't be on the bench. I'm not saying that he's able to play 90 minutes, but he's fit enough to play. Otherwise, he just wouldn't. He wouldn't. I don't believe that Mikel Arteta would have injured people on the bench. He would. No. He would rather have a youth on there than have somebody on there that's injured and he can't rely upon should something happen on the pitch and he has to look towards the bench. I just don't see him doing that.
Definitely.
So it's obvious. Then that tells me then that ESR has fallen down the pecking order for whatever reasons, and I think maybe it's a case of when Martinelli was out and was injured for a period of time, when he came back, he didn't walk straight back into the team. He had to earn it back. He made a lot of appearances off of the bench. And there was a lot of people that were going, oh, maybe he's nursing him back. Maybe there's a little bit of that, but also maybe Mikel Arteta with young players and they're not established players, that you don't just walk back into the team when you've been out and other people have been in picking up the slack on your behalf and maybe doing a good job. So it's like, well, Charlie's come in and done a good job. We don't really need you at the minute. So you need to show me why I need to put you in ahead of Charlie. I don't know who Charlie is. Is this somebody I made up? Maybe it's Charlie Patino. Maybe it's Charlie's Angels. Maybe it's Charlie Drake. I really don't know. But you see where I'm coming from. Maybe that's the way that he is that when you've been out for an extended period of time and you've not been in the trenches. All right, there, Arsenio. Thanks for dropping by.
Arsenio Wonga is here. Big up, Arsenio.
I've not seen that name for a while. Glad to see you back. Glad to see you around. But what I'm saying is, if you've been out for a long period of time, other people have had to come in and step in and do your job and pick up the slack. And if things are going well, maybe he feels that those players have earned their spot, and it's now down to the injured player to try and work his way back in.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying about Martinelli, and there was that whole controversy last season. Emile Smith-Rowe was one of our main goal getters. He'd come off the bench.
Dangerous.
Definitely.
And again, this is one of the in the same way that ESR was dangerous off the bench, I now see Trossard in that place.
Yes.
Only because ESR's not being used. So if he's not being used, we need to have danger off the bench, not just bodies who come on because a player's taken off because they're tired and it's just another body so that we have 11 on the pitch. It's much better to have danger off of the bench that can come on, help change your game, add something, give you faster legs when others are slow and can be productive. And Trossard can do that for me. And that's why sometimes I like to have him on the bench, not because I don't rate him, not because I don't rate him, but we can't sometimes, you can't play all of your aces in the first.
I'm going to throw big praise at Trossard. He's the most intelligent footballer offensively that has played for us since maybe even Dennis Bergkamp or Santi Cazorla.
That's quite a statement.
He's two-footed. He can see the game before it happens. He can make a pass like Dennis Bergkamp used to make. Arsenio said
he was literally inches from getting a winner.
From the winner, yeah. Arsenio said, hope today's floppage of Spurs softened the blow for us, dropping points the last 3 games, my friend. We are so far ahead of that team now that I don't even they're just continue to be Spursy, 20 points behind us. We're looking up now. We're looking to compete with City right to the last weekend, take it right to the last game. And that's what I want to see from Arsenal. Wouldn't be surprised if we cash in on Emile Smith-Rowe along with Kieran Tierney next season.
You see, on that point, you see on that point now, I don't mind cashing in on players like ESR or Kieran Tierney if I know that what we're getting is better than what they are, because I still think that those two players are good enough to make contributions to the team, but I only want to get rid of them if we're upgrading. I'm not one of these that gets sentimental with players and don't want to sell them and just want to keep a certain player. If we can upgrade on any of our players, I'm always open to it, because that's how you improve, right? If it means that someone comes in that takes his place and that player is now moved down a little bit in the pecking order, I'm happy with that.
And it's twofold, Stan. It's got to be quality, but it also has to be durability. You can't be sitting on the treatment table for half of the season, missing 20, 25 games if you want to be in the top echelons of the league here. Haidara is the name, says the assembled from RB Leipzig. Arsenio was out, just got indoors now. Thanks for being with us, Arsenio Wanga. Sup to everyone in the chat. I'm well, my brother. Thanks, man. How you been? And Stan, excellent point that we'll only get rid of them players if someone like Vinicius Jr., Camavinga, Tchouameni, and Mbappe.
You forgot
we're moving, Stan. We're moving that way, right?
In there as well.
One thing I was talking to Gary about earlier in the week was this Man City versus Real Madrid game in the Champions League, Stan. That's going to give us an idea of where the landscape lays. We're going to enter the Champions League. All right, we're not going to win in the first season, right? I'm not even thinking that way, right? But I want to see if Real Madrid are as good or if not better than City. Or we're right there with City. I believe we're as talented as City right now. You know what I mean?
But
I want to see.
But yeah,
I want to see if Madrid's a step beyond City or not.
But you have to remember, you have to remember as well that by the time we get to the Champions League, it's not going to be the same team that you're looking at now. There'll be new faces. Right. There'll be some departures as well. We will not be the same, and you're hoping that we will be better than we were this season. That's the name of the game, right? It's to continually close the gap on a team that may be done for alleged financial doping or whatever. We're trying to close a gap on that.
Yeah.
You know, we've already got the odds are stacked against us because, you know, if the investigation comes up in a certain way, it could turn out that City for a number of years have been playing with a stacked deck. Do you know what I mean? Everyone else has only got 4 aces in their deck of cards. They've got a few up their sleeves, so to speak. It could appear if, you know, if the investigation goes a certain way. So that's what we're fighting against. So you have to think that if we're being able to match City and give them a good run for our money, then that's like a big achievement, right? Because we're going up against a team they're stacked up against us with what they're doing. If that gets dismantled in any way, in the future.
Here's what while you read that down the bottom there, Stan, and explain where you can be found other places.
Well, I don't actually have a channel as such. You know, I don't do any podcasts. You can find. I do have a YouTube channel with some mixes on. Every now and again, I'll upload a mix. I've not done one for ages, and that's just Stan the Man. I think on YouTube, isn't it? Stan the Man 68 on YouTube. 68. But I don't weekly do any broadcast on there. So you can always catch me either on here on a Sunday, on a Thursday on here as well, and over on the Bergkamp Wonderland for post-match and pre-match sort of reviews with Danny. But I've not actually got a Stan the Man channel as it you know, as a standalone thing.
Good. You see Stan here or Bergkamp Wonderland? He's over there quite a lot as well with Danny. So go.
Oh, and Alcino as well. Go and check out Alcino. Go on to Etsy and look up the Gooner Shack. I have a little shop on Etsy now that has mugs and t-shirts and caps. Arsenal related and stuff like that. So go and check that out. And even if you don't pick anything up, just give it a like or follow or something like that. That would be appreciated, my friend.
A retweet. Yeah, any of that stuff. Here's what I want Arsenal fans to do. At the end of the season, I don't want to do it this season because it comes across as being salty or whatnot. But the government are on the hook now for investigating what Man City have been doing.
Gone very quiet though, hasn't it?
It's gone very quiet. So there needs to be a lobby to the British government, because this is the oversight that they're having over the Premier League, and the Premier League needs to feel the heat from the government. Yeah. Something has to happen, because, as you said, Stan, they're playing with a stacked deck, and they're winning. They're sports washing. They're winning competitions with not playing by the rules, and it comes across as sour grapes if we're going to mention it now when we're in a title race. Fair. Edu said we're in a race with Man City. We know who they are, what they are, and we have to beat them on the field. But that doesn't mean they can't be investigated by the British government, because the FA, the Premier League, there's an oversight by the British government, and the British government needs to feel the heat about that. I hope Arsenal fans and fan channels start talking about this. Can't talk about it while the season's going on, because just no other fan is going to get behind this, because it just sounds like sour grapes. No other fan groups, whether they be Liverpool, Man United, Newcastle, or anyone else, will get behind it. But they're doing things illegally, allegedly illegally, and there's 115 points that says that, Stan.
It wouldn't surprise me that if in, say, 4 years from now, there'll be like this young lad who works in the Arsenal mailroom, opening packages and sorting them for the departments. And there'll be this big box from the FA, and he'll be wondering what's in there. And he'll open it, and it'll be a Premier League trophy for this season if you finish second. There you go. Yeah. That was for the 2023 season.
It's not going to feel the same, If they get stripped
of all happens, we're getting that bus out and we're taking the trophy down the streets, mate. Telling you.
Yeah, we will. And we'll win a League Cup. We were beaten 3-0 by City a number of years ago. United will get something. Liverpool will get something. Everybody's going to get something. But as Riddy said here, the government will do very little about it. Everyone knows that. The pressure needs to be applied on them, Riddy, as well. Stan the man. All right, bro. I'll check out your channel, but I always catch you on Bergkamp Wonderland. I was there the other day, and you was so deflated after the result. I felt the same. You're feeling down about it, Stan, of course.
I was actually I was actually quite chipper, because I'd went to the pub, and I've only been to the pub a couple of times this season because I've had a lot of problems with my back and my neck, and I've been watching a lot of games from home. And so I went down to the pub. And it was, being in a place with a lot of other people. When that third goal went in from Saka, the roof was off, mate, of the pub. Yeah. The roof come off. I mean, this was a 12 o'clock kickoff here in Vancouver, and the pub was quite busy. I suspect there was a lot of people that couldn't be at work for that day for whatever reason, had an ailment that they couldn't take them to the office. But the roof went off. I was disappointed though, that we couldn't get all 3 points. But as I mentioned, for me, the difference between the Southampton game and the Liverpool game, I look at the Liverpool game as 2 points dropped. Sorry, my mistake. The West Ham game as 2 points dropped. Whereas, the opposition notwithstanding, I felt that against Southampton, that was a point gained. We managed to scratch out a point, and I'd rather have that 1 point than none from that result,
Yeah, listen, I'd love to sit here now and at the end of May, when the league is over, we've won the league, and we'll say to ourselves, we won the league by a point, and Saka scoring in the 91st minute at home to Southampton was the difference. I want that.
But on the flip side of that coin, I don't want to be sat here at the end of the season saying we missed out on the league by 2 points, because I'm just going to go back to that Brentford game.
Ryan Mason.
It's haunting me. That game is in the background, like haunting me, just waiting to rear its head, because that's been my most annoying. That's been my most annoying moment of the season.
It's okay, Stan, though, because we got an apology. It's okay because we got an apology.
Yeah, that will do it. Yeah.
And the
Let's
guy lost his job.
let's get the bus out and take their apology down the street and wave that around. Sure,
Yeah.
fans will love that.
Yeah, it's not going to be fun. Not going to be fun. It's imperative this Madrid beat City. Allegedly, cheat shouldn't prosper. And yeah, I know 6 months down the line when we go into Champions League, things will be different. Every team will have new players, but for me, it's a gauge. Our City as good as Madrid. We'll see what happens.
I'd prefer City to get to the final and lose the final.
Yeah,
Personally.
just because we need them to play every game possible, every minute possible, so they lose focus somewhere. Arsenal have been losing focus and they drop points somewhere. Since waking up yesterday morning and watching Righty's video, I've been feeling much better and positive. Listen, Righty, he was just sort of verbalizing everything that's been good about this season, and it's great to feel that. But we want to put in a performance at City and hopefully beat them. Stan, I believe the Man City players are a little bit fearing of what we can do to them on Wednesday. Do you think?
No.
No. Do you think City fear us?
No.
You don't think City fear us? I think they do.
I don't think that they fear anyone. You know, they've been through this now so many times. You know, this isn't like a dress rehearsal for them. They've got to the top of the mountain so many times now, and they've been going up against the Liverpool team that, you know, no matter what you're thinking about Liverpool this season, before this season, they were a strong force to contend with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it kind of reminds me of the days when, you know, it was us going up against Man United. And I used to say back then, if you could get a magic wand and just make one wish so that Manchester United had never existed in this world, how many more league titles would we have?
Yeah, it was 6 or 7 years.
So many times that they pipped us to second. You know,
at least twice, 3 times. Yeah, we would have 3 more maybe.
You know, I don't think Manchester City fear us at all. I think obviously their biggest prize for them at the moment is the Champions League. That's what they really, really want, don't they? That's what they're missing.
Yeah, that's the holy grail for them. And I want Arsenal to get closer to 21 and 20 Premier League titles or league titles, because we are the 3rd most successful club in the history of the English league. And we need to get closer to Liverpool and Man United's achievements. Question for us, Stan. Do we think that being in Champions League will be too much pressure for us, or will it spur us on to be in the mix of title contenders in the years to come?
I think that next season is probably going to be, even though Mikel Arteta, I don't really think of him now as a new manager. I think he's past his rookie days are behind him now. You know, he's been in the top seat, in the driving seat now for a few seasons. But where he's really going to where we're really going to see what he's made of is he now has to take a team next season on 4 fronts, 4 competitions. One of them being the Champions League, which is, you know, the probably the biggest one of them all. And I think that we've barely managed to navigate through this season with the squad that we have. So we're going to need I think that we're going to need a much bigger squad in able to be, you know, a force on any of those 4 fronts. And I'd like to see us get into a situation where when we're in the Carabao Cup, we are able to play more of the B team players and youth players and not having to rely so much on the first 11. You can have some on the bench, have some sprinkled in amongst the team to keep a little bit of cohesiveness, but we're going to have to do that. We can't afford to play, you know, we can't afford to really have 15, 16 players and expect them to go through and be successful on 4 fronts.
Russ said
otherwise, we're going to have to look at a competition or 2 and say, well, we're going to have to sacrifice those for bigger things. We shouldn't be doing that.
Arsenal said, Russ said Arsenal are just bad in Europe. We got to change that mindset. We got to get some competitions and we got to get better in Europe. And to answer the question myself, we got to add 2 players, 2 really, really top players like a Declan Rice, like Caicedo. We got to get a right center back for Holding to replace Holding. We got to bring in this Rule Walters, not Rule Walters, but you know,
he's on the bench all the time. Yeah.
to be on the bench all the time for the Carabao Cup games. Maybe bring back Balogun, make a decision on Balogun, what we're going to do. We really have to address Eddie Nketiah, because no matter what you say, he's been a little bit underwhelming, Stan. What do you think? You know, he has scored some vital goals, but he has been underwhelming.
I definitely think that there is an argument that Balogun, who's a player that, you know, we haven't had to go out and buy. He's been on our books for all of this time. He's got great numbers in the French league. He should be given an opportunity to come back and fight for a spot in an Arsenal shirt. He should be given the chance to do that, because what's the point in just selling him before he comes back off of loan and just selling him straight away? We're only going to have to go and spend that money on another player. And, you know, it's going to be another player that's going to be slightly down on the pecking order. And it's going to be a bit of a gamble. We've got this player already here. Why can't we have an opportunity to see whether he can make himself useful? You know, what if he threatens Eddie for his place? Isn't that good for us? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That should be a fight that's allowed to happen. And if the player
competition.
If the player believes in himself, then we've got a player that's coming off the bench and threatening Gabriel Jesus for a place as well, maybe Trossard. Why can't we see that? We're going to be in four fronts. We're going to need more people.
And Reddy's right. You know, we need to start get back on the trophy trail. That's what supporting teams is all about. If not this season, listen, we'll get out of here in a couple of seconds here, Stan. If you've got any final points, cue them up. I'm going to go back to Liverpool again, and not and maybe Gary's ears are burning. Just to reiterate what I said at the start of the show, and if you want to watch it again, reel it back. 2017-2018 season, Man City were Centurions. They got 100 points. Liverpool got 75 points. The next season, Liverpool were beaten by 1 point by City. Imagine Arsenal are now Liverpool. And okay, I don't want it to happen this season, but we've made huge strides. Maybe we lose the title by a point or two. But what happened the next season, Stan, for Liverpool? They went back again and they won the league after the disappointment of losing out by 1 or 2 points. And hopefully that can be Arsenal either this season or next season. And many of us do not want to wait. But, you know, Arsenal are doing things right. We're not Chelsea. We are not pretending to be in the top two in the land. In recent seasons, that has been Chelsea. So we'll leave it there. I actually feel we can turn the tables on City. We are talented enough to go there and beat them, but we do need Mikel Arteta to pick Trossard for me up front or as the left 8. I'd like to see Jorginho in there to help Partey. We don't know if Partey's, but Ramadan has apparently ended, and Partey can get some sustenance through the day now. And Kieran Tierney in the lineup as well. So, Stan, thank you for joining me again on this Sunday show. Gary was here, Mahir was here, and we're going to give you the final say.
I just want to thank everyone that comes in here on the Arsenal Fan Circle, whether it's the Sunday or the Thursday. We always have a lot of the same familiar faces. So I really would like to say that we appreciate that you guys stick with us. We enjoy our little corner here on the internet. It's always good to see some old faces popping in again, like Arsenio Wonga, that I haven't seen around for a while. Who knows? Maybe why not? We'll make an appearance before the season ends. Who's gone missing? But yeah, I mean, I enjoy coming on here and talking with you guys. But I have to give a big shout out to you guys. I know a lot of you in the UK as well, and especially on a Thursday, you're up quite late with us, as us over here in North America have the afternoon to still get through. So a big thank you to all of the people that come in here and make a contribution in the chat box and join in with us.
And I will say there has been some toxicity in the Arsenal fan base.
Really?
Speaking.
Nah.
Yeah, I will say that. Now, I've called this Arsenal Fan Circle because I want to get viewpoints of all of us. And Stan and myself think alike. Gary wants more, not that he wants more, but he thinks and more critically about it. Mahir thinks more critically about it. So
And
I
Tony
think we've
changes
cared-
by the week.
Tony changes by the week. But I think what's important is that we've assembled a group of panelists here that you see every week. We don't always have to agree on everything. We disagree on certain things. But at the end of the day,
We also have Sam that pops in as well. We had Matt. Remember, Matt was popping in here with us as well. Des sometimes pops on here with us, the enforcer. Also, Alonso, when he's not watching Martin Truex Jr. on the IndyCar track, he'll pull himself away and come and join us as well.
Listen, there are times where we talk over each other because we're passionate about what we want to say, but I'm very proud that nobody's shouting at each other here on this channel, and we don't do that. You know, we have our comments and our viewpoints respected by each other. We may disagree, but when the button goes off and we end the broadcast, we're not arguing about it at the end of the day. I have left a backstage pass. Sometimes we do this. We'll stick around a little bit longer to talk backstage. If any of you want to come in and say hello, you can do that without being live on the stream. But we'll leave it there. We'll stick around for a few minutes. Stan may have to go. I don't know what his situation is right now, but I'll be here for a few minutes anyway. If somebody wants to drop in and say hello, have a little bit of a chat, and then we get out of here. Big one on Wednesday. The season is not over. Depending on what happens on Wednesday,
only a couple of sleeps away now. Literally a couple of sleeps away to the big one.
We'll let you know on Thursday how we're feeling about it on the Thursday night forum. Yeah, I don't see us getting spanked. We could lose up there, but I don't see us getting spanked. But on the flip side, there could be a good result to talk about. With that, we will bid everybody have a great rest of the Sunday. Hope your week goes well, and take care until we see you on Thursday. Come on, the Gunners. Let's get a result up at City. I know they fear us, Stan. I know they fear